If everyone could go ahead and quiet down. Hello and welcome at 7:14. I'll now call our special session to order. We'll first get started with the introduction of visitors. If you're a visitor, please just state your name and your reason for being here, and you can hold down on the black mic in front of you and wait for the green light to pop up. So if you want to start over there.
I'm just from the Exponent, writing on the main Taylor.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Irene Scudder, and I'm a Senate Associate Member for the College of Education.
Awesome. All of our incoming senators, would you like to introduce yourselves as well?
I'm Josh Ackerman, incoming senator for the school management.
I'm Sean Amos, incoming senator for exploratory studies.
I'm Erica Wheeler. I'm an incoming senator for exploratory studies too.
I'm Gabriela De Silva, and I'm an incoming senator for the College of Pharmacy.
You can go ahead, Anna.
Anna Hampton, incoming senator for the College of Agriculture.
Lucas Botini, incoming senator for Health and Human Sciences.
Awesome. And back there. You guys can go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Jules Fazette, and I'm here with him.
I'm Jaden Nye, and I'm here with him.
I'm Lee Berry, and I'm here with the Exponent.
I'm Robert, and I'm here with the student court.
Awesome. Any other visitors? See no more visitors. Do we hear any proxy reports? See no proxy reports. We'll go ahead and move into roll call taken by President Kang.
Okay. Senator Reynolds?
Here.
Pro Temp Reynolds, sorry. Senator Fairchild? Nope. Wow.
Starting off strong.
Senator Ferguson?
Here.
Senator Mariani?
Here.
Senator Terrell?
Here.
Senator Perillo?
Here.
Senator Fridlin?
Here.
Senator Merkel?
Here.
Senator Knaus?
Here.
Senator Dodona?
Here.
Senator Bridges?
Here.
Senator Price?
Here.
Senator Buftis?
Here.
Senator Diaz?
Here.
Senator DeLucia Green?
Here.
Senator Brown?
Here.
Senator Askunis?
Here.
Senator Fitchner?
Here.
Senator Thomas?
Here.
Senator Silver?
Here.
Senator Bowman?
Here.
Senator De Guzman?
Here.
Senator Crona?
Here.
Senator Braun?
Here.
And Senator Stockler.
Here.
Awesome. Thank you, President King. The chair will now recognize a motion to suspend the rules so that we could just go over new business and adjournment in this special session, and then we'll do kind of the rest of the meeting in the regular session. Senator Terrell.
I motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to suspend the rules of this meeting. We're going to go ahead and attempt to take this vote by voice acclamation. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Okay, we'll go ahead and suspend the rules. And the chair will now entertain a motion to amend the agenda for this meeting. Yeah, Senator Ferguson.
I move to amend the agenda to include Resolution 2192.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to add 2193, a resolution in support of creating a carbon-neutral Purdue by 2030. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Okay, the agenda is now amended. We'll now move into new business. Do I hear any new business at this time?
Motion to bring up Resolution 2192.
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded to bring up Resolution 2192. Sorry for the error up there. A resolution in support of creating a carbon-neutral Purdue by 2030. This is amendable and debatable. It requires a majority vote. And with that, I'll go ahead and allow Senator Merkel to take the floor.
Okay, so we've got a long night ahead of us, and similar to how we're running out of time and taking serious action to save the planet, I won't take too long explaining this resolution as well. Essentially, this is part of a larger movement that's been occurring at Purdue and across the state and across the country for the past couple of years. At Purdue specifically, there are over 4,000 students who have signed on to support it. Approximately 50 student organizations, large student organizations of all spheres of interest, city and state lawmakers, community organizations, experts, faculty, etc. And students have been working on the technical side of this to create a collaborative, not an unreasonable demand from Purdue, but work with them to determine the solution. So we've created an extensive climate plan that slashes the costs and emissions of Purdue University if it commits to carbon neutrality and achieves it by 2030. And that's supplemental to the bill. I believe it's in the drive, so it can be pulled up. I submitted it though. It's long. It's about 55 pages. But if you read the exponent, there have been probably like 8 articles on it in the last week and a half. But over the last year or two, probably like 20 total. So people care about this issue, and that's why I want to pass this. So what we essentially ask Purdue to do is we ask the Campus Planning, Architecture, and Sustainability Office to get a bit more ambitious in its goals, go beyond more recycling cans in buildings. Do what it's meant to do, which is save the university money, save it energy, and save it emissions. And so we're asking Purdue to assign the task of examining and discussing our climate plan together, and then having CPAS create their own climate plan by the end of, announce their commitment to achieving carbon neutrality by the end of 2023. They don't have to have the entire plan final draft finished by then, but if they do, that's better. But we want them to announce the commitment by the end of 2023, and that's scopes 1 and 2 emissions. So scope 1 is what we produce from our energy plant. Scope 2 is what we buy from Duke Energy, Indiana, from that fossil fuel energy. So a lot of the people we're sending this resolution to, we've been in communication with throughout this process, and I think this has a highly positive outlook of going somewhere after passing for the betterment of the university and our community. Because, we often hear about climate change on a national or global scale, the ice caps are melting and whatnot. But in the context of Indiana, Purdue's own Climate Change Research Center found that by mid-century, Indiana will experience a decrease in crop yields between 15 to 20%, 16 to 20%. And that's our entire economy, almost, in Indiana. Or it's a big part of our economy, I should say. So it's important. So if you have any questions, I'll answer those now.
Thank you, Senator Merkel. Would any other authors like to comment on this resolution? Any discussion? All right. With that, we'll go ahead and move into a vote on Resolution 2192. All those in favor, please raise your name placards. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Resolution 2192 passes unanimously. Congratulations. Do I hear any other new business at this time? Pro Temp Reynolds?
Motion to bring up Bill 2178.
Second.
It's been properly motioned and seconded to bring up Bill 2178, a bill to amend the bylaws to align with Purdue Student Supreme Court standing rules. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. And with that, any author, feel free to get started. Go ahead, Eric.
Okay, thank you very much. As a result of the election cycle, we've had to go back through and honestly take a look at all of our governing documents recently, and Senator Ferguson has, he's really helped us out with that in this whole process. So It's no secret, the last version of our standing rules were back in 2010. We've gone back through and updated everything to the best of our ability to the way court functions today. So there are some things that are up there that look like it's kind of like no-brainers, like why are we discussing this? This is the way court has been all year. But the reality of it is that the bylaws did not accurately reflect that. And that's honestly kind of a collective, maybe not necessarily a collective failure, but it's something that we should have been on top of our game on all year. So what you see in front of you is the way that I have ran my court this year. It's the way that my Associate Justice Kriegbaum attested to this in a meeting a few weeks ago. Court has ran this way for a long time, and we're not sure at what point the bylaws failed to align with the way court was functioning and our composition, but this is what it is today. And everything that you see, including the restrictions to membership and things like that, that's the way court has run this year in the last few years. So I'm totally open to any discussion on this. Associate Justice Robert, do you have anything?
Yeah, so the changes that we pretty much made were in the first section, Part B. We pretty much just renamed a bunch of the positions to accurately reflect how we've been running it for the past few years. And the bottom section, restrictions to membership. The only thing that's really changed from that, from previous years, is that I believe members of the Executive Board of Directors are now able to serve as clerks on our court, not justices. But we've traditionally allowed them to do so, so we've changed that section to reflect that.
Thank you, Robert. Any other discussion? Any questions? Yeah, Senator DeDonough.
I just had one question. I wanted to clarify, just so I was understanding the sentiment behind the restrictions of membership within the bylaws. So just to clarify, so we're including both justices and clerks when we're talking about the exception for them to hold a position within the legislative branch and cabinet, but no justice can hold a position anywhere else. I just want to clarify between sort of the language in the restriction of membership section, so I'm clear on who we're restricting from where and what places.
Yeah, go ahead.
Gotcha. So I'll just put it this way. Members in the board of directors are the only ones, as far as the way PSG is currently structured, are the only ones who would be able to hold a clerk position within court, and no one else is allowed in any other position within court. So that is literally the only way that anyone in PSG can still hold a position in court, is if they were a member of the board of directors anywhere in the organization.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Justice Furstenberger. Any other discussion? Yeah, Senator Ferguson.
I just really want to commend the court for their willingness to work on both their standing rules and to update our bylaws as quickly as possible. I know it's been a really, really fast turnaround, but they did a fantastic job in making sure that they were able to update their I've done bylaw, constitution, standing rule updates all year, and I know how long they take. So the fact that they were able to do that so quickly is commendable to the quality of the court, and I just want to make.
Thank you, Senator Ferguson. Any other discussion? Seeing no further discussion, we'll move into a vote on Bill 2178. All those in favor, please raise your name placards. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Bill 2178 passes unanimously. Congratulations. The chair would now recognize a motion to adjourn the special session. Senator Skunas.
I move to adjourn this session.
It's been properly motioned and seconded to adjourn the session. Not amendable, not debatable, requires a 2/3 majority vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Special session is now adjourned. Okay, now we'll go ahead and kick it over to our next session. Too many things open right now. Okay, actually, psych. Okay. With that, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our special programming for tonight. I know we have one familiar face for sure, but we have two representatives from CARE, which, as you all may know, is the Center for Advocacy, Response, and Education. CARE provides free and confidential advocacy services to students who have experienced power-based personal violence, including sexual violence, relationship violence, and stalking. Their goal is to provide non-judgmental and survivor-focused services to empower survivors to make informed decisions that help them heal. So I'm really excited for you lovely ladies to join us this evening, and I'll go ahead and pass you over the mic. And this should be able to click efficiently as well. Okay. There's one. It's easier. This is a fun setup. Yeah. There you go. Thank you.
Okay. Let me just test this clicker real quick. Is it working? Yes. Great. All right. So before we get started, we have a pre-workshop survey. If you guys could fill out, just use your QR code reader and go ahead and fill that out. Just a couple questions. This is just so we can get an idea of like what you're learning from the workshop, what you're not learning from the workshop, and how we can be better going forward. All right, and we will go ahead and get started.
All right, so my name is Allison Frazier. I am the Prevention Programming Specialist. Just a little bit about me before we get started. I am a Purdue alum, so I took a little bit of a break from being on campus, but honestly, I was really excited to be back after those few years. And honestly, I'm that dog mom that loves my dog a little bit too much. Like, I kind of love her more than my husband because she's really cute and cuddly. So yeah, so we do just have some overall expectations for the workshop today. We do just ask that you all be respectful because this is a really sensitive topic. And so with that, there are a lot of strong opinions about it. That's okay. It's okay to not agree with everything that everyone says, but I do just ask that you do so respectfully. And then also take care of yourself. So because this is a sensitive topic, if you need to step out of the room, that's totally fine. Just know that I will be stepping out to check on you and make sure that you're okay. If you're just going to the bathroom to get a drink, whatever, give me a thumbs up so that I don't follow you as you're going to get a drink because it's unnecessary. Also make sure that I acknowledge that thumbs up. Otherwise, I will still follow you out. So any questions about that? Thumbs up, that we know we're supposed to give thumbs up unless you need. Yep, awesome.
Beautiful. All right, so getting started. Can anyone guess what the definition of power-based personal violence is based on its title? There's no wrong answers, by the way. Yeah.
Would it be violence committed against you by someone that's had power over you?
Violence committed against you by someone with power over you? Definitely, definitely. So the official definition is asserting power, control, or intimidation in order to harm another person. So this is where it's somebody who has a position of power over you, whether that's a boss, a supervisor, or is just using violence to gain power over the situation, who is then doing that to harm you.
So there are 3 types of power-based personal violence that we're going to focus on today. So we have sexual violence. That would include sexual assault, so any non-consensual touching, rape, sexual exploitation, which is going to be when somebody is taking or distributing sexually explicit photos of somebody without their consent, and then sexual harassment, so inappropriate jokes in the workplace, the classroom, catcalling, different things like that. Relationship violence is going to include any type of abuse that's occurring within a dating relationship or a marriage, or just any kind of relationship between 2 people who have a child or something like that. And then stalking is following or intimidating somebody, whether that's online or in person. So cyber stalking would fall within this definition with the intent to intimidate them or harm them. And it's really important to know, and this is something that we don't talk about very often, that while there are some communities that are at higher risk of experiencing power-based personal violence, anybody can experience it. So as we're going through this workshop, please just keep that in mind.
So next we'll kind of give you some statistics to get a better idea of what exactly the problem is. So first, over 50% of all sexual violence happens on college campuses between August and November within the first half of the school year.
And then 54% of college students report experiencing dating violence, and for the purposes of this study, that included psychological, physical, or sexual violence.
People between the ages of 18 to 24 of any gender do experience stalking at higher rates than other groups of individuals.
And lastly, 52% of people know someone who is experiencing dating violence, but they don't believe that it's their place to intervene in those situations.
So next, what do you value? You can turn to the partner next to you or the group of people around you. There's no wrong answers. So for example, I really value my friends. I value my time off. I value my weekends. So just share with the people around you some of the things you guys value, and then I'll ask. All right, can we get any brave souls willing to share what they value or what your partners shared, if they're okay with that? What are things we value?
My partner was cheesy, so she said she values Senate.
Nice, nice.
I would say time.
Time?
That's one asset you can't get back.
Definitely. That's that time of the year where that's really slipping away, isn't it?
Senator Fridlin values her fat dog.
Excellent, excellent. As she should.
All right, so it's really important to understand our values because our values are going to influence when we will and will not intervene in situations. And so we've been talking about intervention, but we haven't actually defined it yet. So how would you define bystander intervention?
I'm going to talk loudly. Sorry. I'd say bystander intervention is when anybody who's walking by, somebody that notices something happening, they either do something directly or indirectly to help either mitigate or control a situation.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really great definition. And I really like that you brought out the direct or indirect way to address the situation. And we're going to talk about different strategies later that discuss how we can intervene, especially in situations where it's maybe not safe for us to put ourselves directly in the middle of it. Does anybody have anything they want to add to that? Okay, we can go ahead and click in our definition here. So it's when you're interrupting situations or statements that go against our morals and beliefs, specifically when there's that risk of emotional harm or physical harm. So an example, you're driving on the interstate and you see somebody get into an accident. So you pull over and you call 911 because you're concerned and want to make sure that the people who were in the accident are okay. You weren't involved in that accident, but again, you're concerned and you want to make sure that they get the help that they need. So that is one of those examples of bystander intervention where we can all kind of picture in our heads.
So the answer you gave about what bystander intervention was actually perfect, because the first thing you have to do in order to actually be a bystander and intervene is to notice that there's something happening. You can't intervene in something that you don't know is going on. So first you have to see something or notice that something's occurring. Next you need to notice that it's a problem. You need to interpret it as something that's going against your values, that it's something that you're going to get involved in. And that's where you're taking that personal responsibility. You're deciding that you're not going to wait for other people to call, you're not going to wait for other people to intervene, you're going to be the one to intervene. But in order to do that, you do need to know how to help. You can't just charge in and hope for the best, because especially if this is a situation where someone's physical or emotional well-being is at risk, that could also mean that your emotional or physical well-being is at risk. And you never want to put yourself at risk when you're trying to help other people as well. And then finally, if you do know what to do, then you can implement your strategies that we can, that we can intervene and make sure that everyone's taken care of.
Okay, so now we're going to go through an activity. So for this activity, I'm going to have different scenarios on the screen, and I just want you guys to raise your hands with what number you think that scenario would be. So 1, it's safe, you don't need to intervene. 2, it could be unsafe, so you may intervene, but you need to get some more context first. And 3, it's absolutely unsafe and you are going to intervene. So for our first scenario, you see someone get catcalled on the way to class. Raise your hand with what number you think this would be.
And remember, there's no wrong answers.
Okay, so I'm seeing some 1s, 2s, and 3s. So people who are saying 1, why are we thinking 1?
I'll say that I was in between 1 and 2. The reason that I am kind of going more towards 1 is because most of the time I feel like on the way to class, people are usually rushed, and you don't want to make a situation where it could become unsafe. If someone says something and say it's directly, say Sam is walking with me and someone catcalls him, then you can really kind of ignore it, and that is kind of dealing with the situation, which is in my mind kind of how the no intervention, even though you intervene by just going away.
Yeah, so like if there's not like immediate danger in that moment, you don't want to create an unsafe situation by responding to it. At what point would it move from a 1 to a 2?
I'd say if it's either continuous, if you see someone like catcalling someone continuously, but also the other reason for me saying 1 is I don't know if Sam's friends with that person who just catcalled him, and I could ask him and say, hey, like, are you okay? And talk with him on an individual basis. If it wasn't someone, then I feel like it would start to elevate to 2, potentially a 3, if it's someone that's random, means to cause either harm or tries to get something out of it, or is really a like New York City type of catcalling situation, which is in my mind some random stranger saying something to get a response.
Yeah, so you're kind of thinking if it's continuous, then like that becomes an issue. But then also like if it's a stranger versus a friend. But I do want to just pull out what you said about talking to him, right? So a lot of times we think intervention means we are only intervening if we're addressing the person who is causing the harm. Intervention can totally happen when you're checking in with that person who is experiencing that harm. And so by checking in and saying, hey, do you know that person? Like, are you okay? That's absolutely an intervention. And so there are ways that we can intervene without maybe making that situation worse, by like potentially causing a conflict because we've intervened with, by like approaching the other person who caused that harm while still making sure that that person is getting that support. So thank you for sharing that. Anybody else who said 1 that would like to share? All right, people who said 2. Why were you thinking 2? Yeah.
So I was thinking 2, and I've actually kind of been in this situation. I was with a friend, and it was very late at night, and this guy was like catcalling her. She's very pretty. And I think it's 2 because really there could have been 2 ways that this situation could have gone. 1, I am. I'm just a little bit away from it. One of them was that, we ignored him, nothing happened. It was potentially unsafe because the fact there was 2 girls walking alone at night. The other thing, which actually did happen, was that they followed us, and we had to run into a shop and call someone to come and pick us up. So I think it's very, you don't know, obviously you're not going to respond immediately to someone that's catcalling you because you don't know how they're going to react, but in the same way, you also don't know how they're going to react when they think that you're ignoring them. And that tends to make a lot of people that are catcalling, especially if they're intoxicated or something like that, very angry. So, and especially if they're in a vehicle and you're not, it can put a lot of risk into that situation. So I would definitely classify it as a 2, maybe even going up towards a 3, because you really don't know that either way that you respond could incite, them being potentially extremely angry and, following you or stalking you like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate everything that you just shared there. So that is one thing with this activity is these are words on the slide. You don't get any other context. And so the context is what comes to your mind based on your experiences with these situations, right? And so if your experience is that they haven't really been super unsafe, and how you define unsafe, then you might be more likely to define it as more of a 1 or a 2. But if you've had experiences where things have been really unsafe and they've escalated, then you're more likely to say that it's an unsafe situation. So you kind of identified a lot of areas where that would become a 3 for you, if they're following, if they're, getting aggressive in any way or anything like that. So thank you for sharing. Anyone else who said 2 that would like to share? All right, 3s. Why are you thinking 3?
I said 3 because it definitely depends on the situation, but no matter what, like in what way someone got catcalled, there is an applicable way to intervene. So say the person got catcalled while someone was like driving by, and then the person's gone. So it's not a 2 for me because I don't need more context. I just witnessed the situation unfold before my eyes. The way to intervene there would be like what you mentioned earlier, and like check on them, be like, hey, are you okay? I'm sorry, that person's not nice for doing that. If they're, if it's at night and the person catcalling the other person is like walking also on the sidewalk, you could intervene by just making yourself visible or making a noise, so that the person catcalling isn't like thinking that they can get away with it and keep doing it, or maybe start following them, or I think no matter what the context is, you should intervene, and there's an applicable way to do that.
Yeah, so for you, the situation, it's an easy way to intervene. And so for you, it just makes most sense to do something about this one. And it just like, it fits into your values that you want to make sure that this kind of behavior is not occurring. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like if someone got catcalled and nobody was there and like checked on them or did anything about it, I'd be like, okay, well, I'd be afraid of like going out and doing stuff because I know nobody would stand up for me or anything like that.
Right, absolutely. Bystander intervention absolutely creates this this culture, right? Because if we see somebody else intervene in a situation, then we know that there are people who are going to speak up if we're in a situation where we might be experiencing harm. Thank you for sharing that. We will move on to the next scenario here. So you see a couple yelling outside of Wolk and she smacks him. Go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, so I'm seeing some 2s and 3s. If you have a 1, can you raise it higher? All right. So people who said 2, why are we thinking 2? Yeah.
I said 2 just because I think I said 2 just because I think that with like personal relationships, if he hit her, it would totally be a 3. But I mean, if it's outside of a public space at school, I would feel embarrassed if someone came up to me and was like, why did you just hit your boyfriend, or like what was happening? But if it looked like a relationship, but I think it's like, I don't want like them to feel embarrassed or them to feel uncomfortable, and if they like looked distressed, then it would change. But I guess it's like them needing context again.
Okay, so I am curious because you said you wouldn't want them to be embarrassed, but that if it was him hitting her, it would absolutely be a 3. And so it sounds like them being embarrassed is getting thrown out the window because you got to make sure that something's happening. Why is that?
I think it's just because I am a girl, I guess, and like I would feel bad if I saw that, and I would feel like endangered myself. But I guess, I don't know, I don't want to say like a double standard, but I feel like, I don't know, in my personal experience, I guess that's why.
Okay, no, I appreciate you sharing that. So it sounds like, when would it go from that 2 to a 3? You said if they look distressed. How do you know if somebody is like looking distressed to the point where you need to step in?
I think you can kind of tell though, like there's definitely people have tells that you can see, and like, yeah, I guess.
What's an example?
I guess if they were like, I guess their facial expressions, like body language, just being like, you can definitely see when someone's like, I guess I can tell at least when someone's upset if they're like, they looked flushed, or if they are like, if there was if you were like watching the whole conversation happen and there's like a huge argument that precedes this. So maybe just ask if they're okay, what happened, if they're in danger, stuff like that.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Anybody else who said 2 that would like to share? Yeah.
Yeah, so I said 2 because this is a situation where if someone is smacking someone else, then this might not be a safe situation for yourself. So I guess it's all of these situations are very context-based, but if I see someone who is being violent, then it is not a safe situation for other people around you, and you don't want to get yourself hurt. But of course, like you should, of course, definitely intervene by calling the police or something, I think. But personally, I would not intervene by approaching those people because it might not be a safe situation for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I am never going to need to tell you guys or ask you guys to intervene in situations where physical violence is occurring directly, right? So I don't want you guys putting yourself in the middle of this. But like you said, calling the police, getting somebody else who's maybe got more ability to manage that situation or skill sets to manage that situation would be a really great thing to do. So when would this move from that 2 to 3 for you?
I think it's, of course, context-based. I think that, I guess I put it 2 as being myself not intervening, but it would still be a 3 in the case of me calling the police or calling someone else. So I think it would be at both stages at that point, like 2 and 3. Just whether or not, like, maybe if it was one smack and then they separate from each other, then I would probably go up and ask the individual who got smacked, like, okay.
Okay, so like if people move away from each other and you have an opportunity to safely like put yourself in the middle of it, then that's when you would feel more comfortable.
That's when I would go up personally rather than calling an outside source.
Nope, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. All right, people who said 3, why are we thinking 3?
Yeah. I would say it would be a 3 because in this situation, I think that some sort of intervention would always be necessary. I couldn't imagine seeing this and walking away and saying nothing. So I would agree with Lynn that it wouldn't be probably me putting myself directly in that situation, but some sort of intervention, whether that looks like getting somebody else or calling the police, is how I would choose to intervene in a situation like this.
Okay, so why exactly is this not a situation that you could walk away from?
I guess I'm clearly seeing violence, and I don't feel like without any other context, I am seeing someone being violent against another person, and that fact would make it clear that I don't need more context to make a decision that some sort of intervention is necessary.
Okay, awesome, thank you. So you're thinking there's physical violence occurring, that obviously needs something needs done about this. So you're gonna do something that is still safe for you to intervene in that situation. Awesome, thank you.
I would kind of echo what Lynn said, but more on, like, yes, maybe not intervene myself, but definitely, like Ellie said, like, make sure that there is intervention, whatever that looks like. I also feel like it was a 3 for me because I would probably observe the situation and make sure that it doesn't get worse, but not saying that that doesn't mean it's, like, it could be not unsafe. I think, like, it's unsafe, maybe wait and kind of see, like, if more context comes or something, but definitely having some type of intervention within that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the nice thing with this workshop is we're going to go through some different strategies on how we can intervene so that you have a backup plan to your backup plan to your backup plan, because there are going to be situations inevitably that you encounter that you're going to have some sort of barrier that stops you from intervening. And so we want to have those backup plans so that when a barrier pops up, you're able to address it and still intervene in those situations. With this scenario, I do just want to point out, and we did already have a brief mention of this, that male identifying people are also able to experience relationship violence. And so it is something where there's definitely that double standard in society where we're more likely to rate a scenario a 3 if the female identifying person is experiencing violence. And so that is just something to kind of keep in mind if you do ever see somebody who is male identifying that is being physically harmed or just harmed in any way. And also, this situation doesn't necessarily, like, you know, if there's people of the same gender, that doesn't necessarily mean that the physical violence that's occurring is not physical violence. So we just always want to make sure that we are doing what we can to step in, even if that means you're not directly putting yourself in that situation, but you are finding someone who is able to help. Anything else with this scenario? No. All right, thank you. The next one that we have is someone is pressuring others to get drunk at a party. All right, I'm seeing 2s and 3s. People who said 2, why are we thinking 2?
I don't know, like, if like they could be friends and it could be like friendly competition, or they could not know each other and it could be like peer pressure. So I would need a little bit more context.
Okay, so like kind of how are they pressuring each other? Who are they to each other? Different things like that. Okay, yeah.
I would personally say like 2.5, kind of. I said 2, but because I believe that it could be unsafe, but I personally would intervene, and just chiming in, even like because if it's like intense, like chug this or something really fast, like if it's like unhealthy, that's really bad, and you should just step in and be like, are you good to? Like, do you want to? But also if someone's just like, here, another drink. Wait, actually take it, hold it, drink it right now. Like, then just hearing it, I would probably just be like, or I'll take it, like, or you know what I'm saying, like, or just you don't have to type thing. So I think it could be unsafe, but I like must intervene. So like flipping them.
Yeah, so you're kind of thinking like if it's like really pushy and like there seems like to be some like bad intent or something like that, or it's just unhealthy and like they just shouldn't be drinking that fast or that quickly, then you would want to do something then. Yeah, okay. All right, people who said 3. Yeah.
I said 3 just because I feel like it's easy to intervene, if that makes sense. Like, the must is kind of weird, but if someone's pressuring someone else, they're either gonna, maybe it is a safe situation and it's a friend or something, but if they do want an out, you can, I feel like, easily give it to them, be like, hey, like, I don't think you should do that, or like, hey, that's not cool, don't pressure people. So by giving them an out, then they can take it, or if it's all fun and games, then they're like, oh, actually, I'm doing this. So I said 3 just because it's easy to, and the, I guess, risk isn't that high for intervention.
Absolutely, it's a low risk situation to intervene in, and you know you might stop something that could have been a really high risk situation. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say on the same vein as Michael is.
It is very easy to intervene, and usually in this case, I usually find the other person pretty annoying. So I always find it as like the best case scenario to try to just like make fun of them, like basically ask like, oh, why, or like, oh, like, shut up, like, why are we doing this tonight, or like, oh, we have trying to destroy your liver or something like that. Because I think like ultimately like it's maybe they might have good intent with it. They're trying to have like other people have a fun time, but if people are choosing to like, hey, pace themselves or not drink as much, they're probably just trying to like take care of their grades, wake up early in the morning, or take care of their health or something like that. So there's always just like no need.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're kind of thinking like, you know, we need to just be respecting people's no. When they say, like, if they've said no, that they're not wanting to drink anymore, or that they're not wanting to drink that much or whatever, then we need to just like respect that. And so if somebody's not respecting that, we need to step in.
Not even that. I'm like, anyone who's just like seems kind of aggressive about it, I just like automatically like make fun of them because I find it very annoying.
Okay. Hey, you know, it definitely helps to prevent some bad things that could happen. So thank you for sharing. All right, so we will go ahead and move on to the next thing.
Oh. Okay, from our friends at The Ohio State University. So just as we're watching this, just kind of think about some situations in this video where an intervention could have happened or who could have intervened in these situations. Okay. Sorry about that. So what were some situations in that video where there could have been an intervention? Some harmful instances?
I feel like the host could have been like, "You're drunk, no more."
Yeah. When he came up to get shots, the host could have easily cut them off. He could have given her water instead because she didn't exactly look physically with it. Or he could have noticed that she was uncomfortable when they came up to that bar and told him to get lost or something like that. What are some of the other times and instances in that video where people could have intervened?
When the guy first came up to her, her friends could have been like, "Do you want to dance with him? Do you not want to be with him?" Like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
When she was like kind of slouched over, kind of out of it.
Yeah.
When her, like, I guess 2 friends or like those 2 other girls were on, like, when she was like leaving the party and the 2 other girls, like, they looked and they definitely noticed that she seemed uncomfortable. They were like, "Oh, well, whatever, like, it's totally fine." Like, the 2 of them could have definitely been like, "Hey girl, like, do you need a ride home?" Or like, "Hey, come stick with us." Like, even if they weren't her friends, like, they could do that thing where like they pretended to be her best friends or whatever, or just, called someone that she knew to like take her home safely.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you guys for sharing. So how were some of the ways you guys could tell that she was uncomfortable, she wasn't capable of consenting, how she wasn't enjoying herself?
Honestly, as soon as she got slumped, like, she couldn't give consent anymore.
Yeah.
So,
right.
As soon as she started taking those drinks, like, if she came by herself, she pretty much should have left by herself.
Yeah, and as we see at the end of the video, like, he has to prop her face up to kiss her. He has to get the key out of her back pocket. Like, she is not in any position to handle her own tasks. What were some other indicators that she was maybe uncomfortable? Or things you would have responded to?
I mean, she pushed the guy away initially. She turned back and she's like, "Stop, get away."
Yeah, definitely. And if you saw the same guy coming up to your friend after she'd pushed them away, wouldn't you be kind of like, "What's going on?" So what are some of the ways you might have intervened? Like, where would have been good points? What would have been some strategies you used? Yeah.
I feel like if I were that like female stranger on the road, just kind of like stopping both of them and just being like, "Hey, do you like know this guy?
Yeah.
What's his name?" And seeing if she
Right.
could answer those questions like coherently.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. And sometimes that might be a little confrontational for some of us. Like, I personally probably wouldn't ask a guy like, "Do you guys know each other?" I would probably email like, "Hey, haven't seen you in a while." Someone mentioned that strategy, just like, "Hey, how are you doing? It's been a minute. Why don't you come to the bathroom with me? Let's go get a picture or something." A way to get her away. It's a little more subtle, but a direct strategy definitely could work. What would be some other ways we could intervene?
It looked like there were a lot of dancing, and so if you see a friend and she's like clearly uncomfortable, just bringing her back onto the dance floor and then being like, "Yeah, let's go to the bathroom real quick," and then being away from the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the best time to pull out some of your sickest moves with like the elbows out, like full on helicopter, because you can make like a nice little safety spot away from you. No one's gonna touch you if you're dancing with your arms flinging around. But yeah.
If you have like a friend that you feel comfortable with going up and being like, "Hey, stop." I know like I have a friend that if we're in a situation and he's like, "Hey, do you want me to like say something?" Having that like ability. If you're with all females, just being like, "Hey, I'm uncomfortable," or like someone over here said, like asking them like, "Hey, are you comfortable with this guy?" Oh, she does that.
Yeah, and that's definitely another strategy too, is to find somebody else who can come with you. Either there's strength in numbers, or you can find somebody else who might be able to handle that situation a little bit better. Maybe they're more confident, maybe they're 6'7" and they're bulky like my younger brother. But either way, it's a way that keeps us safe, but it also intervenes in the situation. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if you're a guy in this perspective and don't want to be seen as like creepy in terms of like trying to help the girl or something, you can also just get the guy away, like pull him aside and be like, "Hey, like, dude, nice to see you," or something, and like kind of get him away from the situation. So that way, it's just resolving it. So the girl feels safer and you get him away.
Yeah, no, and I love the fact that you're thinking of different strategies, ways to keep everybody comfortable. Like male identifying voices can have a lot of power, especially in these situations. So keep being mindful of that is really significant as well. So thank you guys for sharing, and then we'll pop on into some more strategies.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so there were a lot of opportunities for the people in that video to intervene, and they didn't. And so I kind of talked about barriers a little bit ago, but just as a little example here, I'm 5'3", so most people are taller than me by the time they're 13. So I have that going against me. And then I also really, really, really don't like conflict, especially when people are yelling. Like when people are yelling, I'm ready to go like run and hide in the bathroom because I don't want to have to be the one to deal with that situation. And so knowing that, I'm probably going to encounter situations where somebody that's bigger than me is also yelling in some sort of conflict. I'm going to have to be able to like intervene in those situations because a value of mine is safety. And so I need to make sure that I'm living to that value. And so, like I said earlier, we have that backup to our backup to our backup in terms of our strategies. So there's 3 different types of barriers that we kind of categorize all of our barriers into. So personal barriers, that could be like you're introverted. For me, like my height. It could be really just like feeling like you just are really uncomfortable with the situation. Relationship barriers. So you don't want to like ruin a friendship. Maybe you don't want to be the one that like kills the vibe of the party. It's anything that impacts those relationships around you. And then there's general barriers. So things like the bystander effect. Does anybody know what the bystander effect is? Yeah.
Thinking that somebody else will do something.
Yep, absolutely. So you think that somebody else is going to step in and do something, so you don't. It could also be like no one else looks concerned about what's happening, and so you start to question whether there is an issue. And so if you're questioning whether there's an issue, then you're probably not going to actually step in and do something. So it's really important to be aware of those barriers because, again, everybody has a barrier, and that's okay. But what's important with that is we do something, and we have those strategies in the back of our heads, and we're prepared to go in to any situation that might occur, whether that's directly or indirectly, so that we can intervene in those situations. So I just want you to think to yourself for just a few seconds, and then about just like the different barriers that you might have. And then talk to the people next to you, and then we will share. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the different barriers that you guys were just discussing. So you don't need to raise your hand. You can just like popcorn. What barriers did you discuss?
You don't even have to use the mics if you don't want to.
I was going to say, we talked about a barrier that I experience is the anxiety of being wrong about the situation, because if you are a bystander, you don't know exactly what they're talking about, even though it looks like a certain way. Right. It's very scary to go up there and like intervene, and then they're like, oh, you have it all wrong, like kind of ending up being embarrassed even though when you're trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. The fear of being wrong is something that a lot of people struggle with. I know that was something that I really struggled with for a really long time, until I like started thinking to myself, would I rather like maybe embarrass myself and be wrong, and know that for sure nothing bad is happening, or let the fear of being wrong stop me from intervening and then find out later that something bad was happening and that I could have done something to stop it. And that's just like a little strategy that I've like started using to help myself in those situations, so that I do step in. But that is something that a lot of people struggle with. So thank you for sharing that.
Sophie and I talked about just sometimes being like generally ignorant of your surroundings. Like sometimes you're just kind of like lost in your head, not really paying attention. And you're not necessarily focused on your surroundings. So I guess just being like more cognizant in that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that goes back to the first step for bystander intervention of noticing the event is occurring. So if you don't notice that it's happening, then it's kind of hard to do anything about it. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
I'm someone who likes to go into especially stressful situations with a plan and like have an expectation of what's going to happen. And so sometimes like wanting to have it all planned out isn't possible within bystander intervention. And so having to get over that personal barrier is something.
Yeah, so like just inevitably things are going to happen that we can't plan for. And so that can be really stressful for sure. Thank you. Anybody else want to share a barrier? No? Okay, so now we're going to talk about the different strategies that you can use for these barriers.
Yes, so we didn't just tell you about barriers to be like, oh my gosh, it's so hard, don't do it. We're telling you these barriers so that way we can work around them. The more you know about it, the easier it is to get around. So first, like we kind of talked about earlier, there's not just one set strategy for intervening in these situations. The first one, you can be direct. You can directly approach either the person who is being targeted or the person doing targeting. You can check them out, or you can check in with them. Are you okay? Did what they say bothered you? Do you need help? Do you need anything from me? And you can also just say, hey, that's not funny, like that's not cool. They're not comfortable. Leave them alone. Something really basic like that. But you can also do those distract strategies where you're interrupting, where you're pulling somebody away, or you're redirecting. At a party, it's really easy to come in and be like, hey, I think somebody's getting towed, or like, oh God, the police. And that'll distract everybody. And again, it's not even drawing attention to that specific situation if you're concerned about that. It's just getting that situation to stop happening. Lastly, we can delegate. We're not alone in this world. We can come together with our friends to get something done, or we can ask other people. The police are a great example of this. If you don't feel safe to intervene yourself, don't do it. If you want to get together with a group of friends to do any other intervening, that's on you. So you can also ask somebody with like more authority. So like if it's happening in a classroom, you could ask a professor or a TA, but just knowing your surroundings and the people in them.
Yeah, and so just one more thing with delegate. Again, like I said earlier, I'm never going to ask you to put yourself in a situation that you feel is unsafe. So the times that I really, really want you to use that delegation, again, when physical violence is occurring, if there's a weapon involved or something that can be used as a weapon, if strangers are getting involved, if the situation's escalating really quickly, or if you just have that really bad gut feeling that something's off. We don't always have to be able to pinpoint why we feel like there's something really bad happening, but I would really, really hate for somebody to step into a situation because they couldn't pinpoint something that was like really wrong with the situation outside of just their bad feeling and then get hurt. Because if we intervene in a situation and get hurt, bystander intervention hasn't really worked, right? So in those situations, I would really want you to stay at a safe distance, call 911, wait for them to get there, just so that you yourself is safe in that situation. So moving into this activity, this one's just going to be about specifically what would you do. So the first activity we had talked about, how do you identify like what situation is unsafe? Like how do you define safe versus unsafe situations? So now I want to actually know how you would intervene in certain situations. So for the first one, you see your friend flirting with someone who looks uncomfortable in class. How would you intervene in this situation?
Call them out on it. Be like, what are you doing? Stop. Like, you can easily tell that she's not into you, or he's not into you, or whoever it is. It's like, just stop.
Yeah, absolutely. So using that direct intervention, and that can work really, really well for some people. So absolutely, thank you. How else could you intervene? Yeah.
If it's like a larger classroom, you could just I'm assuming that you're sitting together because you're friends, so you can maybe just move seats. Be like, hey, let's go sit over this place with our other friend or something.
Yeah, so kind of using more of like that distraction of moving and having them just like go with you. Absolutely. What else? Yeah.
I think in like a classroom setting, it's really easy to distract because you could like ask for a pencil or about like a homework assignment or anything. And then once you start that conversation, you can kind of keep them distracted so the person that wasn't comfortable can get away if they would like, or just kind of be a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And so kind of going back to how I said some people will respond really well to those super direct interventions. With the distractions, some people, like if you directly intervene and you're like really blunt about it, they're going to dig themselves into a hole real fast, right? We all know those friends where when they get uncomfortable, they start like word vomiting, and they can't stop. So if you know that that's that friend, then you might want to use a distraction instead. So it's all like kind of case by case, and that's why it's good to have all of those different scenarios. All right, so this next one, your friend is drunk and being led away by someone you don't know at a party. What would you do? Yeah.
I would personally just like directly go up to them and be like, hey, you know, are you okay? Do you know this person? And if they seem like, you know, in any way, shape, or form that they were not able to consent to anything, I'd, you know, immediately pull away, or I'd tell the person, you know, you need to go. Like, you need to leave. This is my friend. You know, back off.
Yeah, absolutely. So just really that super direct approach. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think this one's a little more cut and dry, but I think it goes back onto the point with even from the video of like what could have been done better. In a lot of fraternity houses or like a lot of parties, there's usually like a door monitor to like see the people like leaving. So if that person, like no matter who the girl or guy is, and like seems a little too drunk or like it's just like a couple leaving, be like, oh, like do you know this person? Like how's your relationship? Where are you guys going? A large part of the job is making sure like people do get home safely. Like, oh, when's your Uber, or like, are you guys going to get food, or like who's the group? Like, just being sure that they're not gonna like, you know, like go home alone, like drop a little drunk on the street, or like yak in some Uber or something like that alone. So, the door monitor is instrumental.
Yeah, so kind of like delegating to those people. So whether it's the door monitor, sobers, if you are just in a leadership position in any like situation, so even if it's outside of a party, people are going to delegate to you. So it's like good to know when you are in a leadership position. So like all of you guys, probably people would delegate to you, right? Because if they know that you're in a leadership position, people are going to delegate those situations that they're uncomfortable dealing with to you. So yeah, delegation is a great way. Anybody else with this situation?
I think it'd be easy to say like, hey, what are you doing? Like, you're gonna come on with me. Like, did you exchange numbers? Like, kind of get them to exchange numbers and then take them away from the situation so they can actually like have a thought about it overnight. Maybe they do like the person and want to go out on a date with them. That can happen later. Doesn't have to happen when they may be under the influence.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, like if you can't get them to go like with you, giving them that incentive of like, get their number maybe tomorrow. You know, if somebody's intoxicated, they're probably not going to be thinking the most logically. And so even if they're mad at you, like that night, they'll be fine, right? They're going to wake up and they'll be fine. What were you going to say?
I was going to say I'd just create some reason for them to stay longer, so I could assess the situation more. I guess assess it the same way other people would, but create more reason for them to stay, not let them get out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like if you just yell, "Oh my gosh, is that pizza?" Like honestly, drunk people love food. They're going to want to go get the pizza, right? Okay, awesome. Thank you. This last one here, you're with a group of friends and someone makes a joke about rape. What would you do?
I would react in the least humorous way possible, because that is literally such not a joking matter. And honestly, anyone that's willing to joke about that can go ahead and leave the conversation and the group, because that's a zero tolerance type of policy.
Yeah, so you're like as straight-faced as you can be, just like staring them, like just looking back at them straight in the eyes until they look away because it's uncomfy.
Honestly, you gotta call them out for that type
Okay.
of thing. Like,
Yep.
that is not acceptable in any situation.
Okay, yeah, so just very, very bluntly calling them out and letting them know that that's not acceptable. Awesome, thank you.
A great way to get them to call themselves out is by asking, can you explain the joke to me? Can you explain where it's funny? And then just let them dig their own hole.
If they, for whatever reason, don't understand that it's not funny, I think you can also talk with them one-on-one afterwards and be like, hey, like, this wasn't cool and this is why. Do you understand why it wasn't cool? And like get them to understand it themselves so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, absolutely. So some people, if we try to address it in that moment with a group around them, they're going to get really defensive and that learning opportunity is gone, right? So even if it is addressing that after the fact when they're alone and will be more receptive to being like learning in that moment and understanding why it's not acceptable is also a really great way. Anything else with this one? I will say another really good thing to do with the situation is if you know there are any survivors of sexual violence in that group there, to after the fact, and I stress after the fact, do not call that out in the middle of the group, but after the fact, check in with them and make sure that they're okay. Saying like, hey, I know they said this, that was so stupid, I don't know why they did, but I just want to make sure that you're okay. And so just offering that opportunity where if you can't address it to that person, making sure that the people who may have been hurt by that comment have the support that they need if they do need it. All right.
Okay, and so why at the end of the day should we intervene anyways? I mean, if it's not happening to us though, what's the matter? So the real reason we want to intervene is because we're all members of the community, no matter how much we participated in, but especially in this room because we are so involved in the community, we want to keep it safe and accountable. We want everybody out in this community and any others to be able to go out and to be safe. It also keeps our communities up to a moral standard, which is important. Any other time you may be in a vulnerable position where somebody could take advantage of you. It's also really effective. I think we mentioned it earlier. One person speaking out about something can actually cause a greater reaction. Maybe somebody will see that and go, I want to be more like that next time. I didn't stand up this time, but next time I want to take that first step. I want to be the one to call somebody out. So all in all, it just makes your community a stronger and safer place. And one little action can make a big impact.
Okay, so that is all we have for bystander intervention. So now I'm going to talk a little bit more about what CARE does. Raise your hand if you could explain to me what CARE does without looking at that slide. All right.
Some of you are cheating.
That's the general consensus. Yep.
I know you guys give a lot of presentations to any student organization who requests it, pretty much.
Yeah, definitely not wrong.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so CARE is a totally confidential resource for students who have experienced power-based personal violence, whether that's directly or indirectly. So even people who maybe somebody has disclosed to them that they've experienced power-based personal violence, it's really heavy when someone that you love and care about says that to you. And so if you need support in a place that you can go and vent, you're welcome to come to CARE as well, or if you just want to get some resources to take back to that person if they're not ready to come to CARE. So we are located in Windsor Hall, specifically in Doomy, room 139. So that's the building right off of 1st Street. You just go in through that door between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, go down the hallway to the left, and that is where CARE is. So a big thing that we focus on is discussing rights and options because we want to make sure that survivors are informed in the decisions that they're making. We're not here to tell them what they should or should not do. We are here to let them know what their options are and then support them in whatever decision they make. We also have a 24/7 hotline. This is something that not many people know, but when I say 24/7, it is 365 days a year. That means we're on call on Christmas. It doesn't matter if students are on campus or not. If there is a crisis related to power-based personal violence, we have advocates that rotate on call all year, all the time, and you can get the support that you're needing. I want to stress this is not to be used in place of 911, but if you are in a situation where you need to call 911, call 911, and then you can also call our hotline and say, hey, like this situation's occurring, and you can have an advocate meet with you with law enforcement, meet you at the hospital. You can just talk with that person in that moment. Kind of whatever you're needing, our advocates will do our best to support you through that. And then the other thing that I'm going to mention here is we can connect people with the Office of Institutional Equity to get them some academic assistance. Because if somebody's just been raped, we don't want them worried about the exam they have next week. So if they're needing to get that exam pushed out, or if they need to take it in a different room, whatever that looks like for them, we're going to advocate for them to be able to get that support. Again, like I said, totally confidential, so we do not have to report to the university. That is what really makes our office different from other places, is we are not mandatory Title IX reporters. So you guys can come to CARE, talk to us, and get the support that you're needing or that somebody else is needing if you need to get that information back to them. What questions do you have about the services that we offer?
I I guess, does CARE have resources available to provide advice for maybe students not experiencing issues like this, like currently, but say they have like last semester, and then they still find that they're personally like dealing with repercussions still, even if like everything's been dealt with. So does CARE have any resources for those people that I guess just can't seem to quite get past it without some additional talking or whatever is needed?
Yeah, so one big thing with CARE is we are not counselors. So we do not provide therapy. However, if somebody's just needing to come and talk, we're able to do that. We can just listen, whatever they're needing in that moment is fine, but we just can't provide actual therapy, if that makes sense. So if something happened last semester, they're absolutely welcome to come and schedule an appointment with CARE, even if they've already met with us that last semester and have taken care of whatever needs that they had last semester. If it's still impacting them that next semester, they're able to get some support through that.
Yeah, there's not like a statute of limitation on that. You can use the services as many times as you'd like. It's not a linear, healing is not a linear process, so it's open at any time that it's needed.
Any other questions about CARE?
This question, I just thought about it when we were going through some of the like when to intervene. But you had mentioned, can I ask this question now, or is there another part?
I would need you to ask the question for me to say that. I'm
Well,
sorry.
It's not about like the services that you guys provide. It's just a question about what the training that we just went through.
Yeah, you can go ask questions about the training as well.
So if we were to see a couple and someone hits the other person, you were talking about how it's difficult to intervene in that situation due to safety purpose reasons. But could intervening look like sitting a little bit away and trying to serve as like a witness to that situation, and then perhaps even calling CARE or 911 if we feel like that's appropriate? Is that quote unquote like bystander intervention?
Yeah, so if you are calling 911 and you're like staying at a safe distance, absolutely that is bystander intervention. In situations where violence is occurring, CARE wouldn't necessarily be the right place to call for that particular, to like actually manage that situation, because again, we're not here to respond to emergencies, but we can respond to an emergency to support the survivor if there's already law enforcement involved. Does that make sense? So like we can't be the primary person that's responding and intervening in a crisis like that, but we can be there to support the survivor if they want us to be there with them when they're talking with law enforcement.
Gotcha. So if it's just a matter of physical violence, though, if we're kind of in a further away from the situation, but we were to follow up, like that's one of the skills that we learned, to check in with that person and say that CARE is an option. Do so, that's when you guys could also step in, since that person would be voluntarily calling you guys?
Yeah, so I mean, if you wanted to educate them about CARE, that's fine. You could also offer to walk them over to CARE if you feel like that would be a way that you can support them in that moment, or call CARE with them. Really what the issue is we just can't like be the emergency responders, but we can be advocates in that response. Does that make sense? I know it's a little confusing.
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay, all right, awesome, thank you. Any other questions about CARE or just the event or the workshop in general?
You can also message me at any time. I realized I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Amanda Shai. I'm one of the executive directors of Diversity and Inclusion, so I am on the Slack channel somewhere in there. So if you have any questions about anything, let me know.
And then if you want to go ahead and click to the next slide, we do have our post survey up there. That again just helps us figure out if we're teaching you what we're planning to teach you, because if we aren't, we need to make some adjustments. Also, I do want to just do a little plug. So next week on the 27th, so Wednesday, is Denim Day. Denim Day is all about standing in solidarity with survivors of sexual violence. So we are asking that everybody wears jeans or some form of denim. Bonus points if you decorate it in some way and then wear it and then take a picture, post it on Instagram, tag CARE. That would be really awesome. And then I can also leave some stickers and cards here as well that you guys are welcome to take. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
That was amazing. I learned a lot. I got you. Thank you, guys. I certainly learned a lot from that presentation. I hope you all did as well. Thank you both for coming and giving us some bystander intervention training, which I'm sure we'll be able to utilize at some point. With that, at 8:31, I'll now call our general session to order. We'll go ahead and get into the introduction of visitors. If you've already introduced yourself, no need to. But any new visitors that have snuck in the meantime, if you'd like to introduce yourself and your reason for being here, you can go ahead and press down on the little black box in front of you, and a green light will come on, and that's the microphone. So, any new visitors? It's you guys in the corner.
Todd and Jerry Ann Jensen were Andrew's parents.
And my name's Kastub. I'm also here for Izzy.
Hi everyone, my name's Molly Grosjean and I'm here to support Izzy and Andrew.
Awesome. Any other visitors?
I'm Evan Chris. I'm a author on one of the.
Awesome. Welcome, Andrew and the Jensen Weber fan club. We're so happy that you guys could all make it this evening. No new proxy reports, and roll call hasn't changed, so we'll just go ahead and move over that. Let me actually pull up our PowerPoint. Okay. Okay, we'll now get into our land acknowledgement. Purdue student government acknowledges the traditional homelands of the indigenous people upon which Purdue was built. We honor and appreciate the Potawatomi, Delaware, Miami, and Shawnee people who are the original indigenous caretakers of this land. Senators, please rise for the Pledge of Purpose. Our purpose is to be the voice of the Purdue student body, serve the needs of students in all university matters, and provide leadership that stimulates initiative, inspires excellence, and exemplifies professionalism. And above all, hail Purdue. The meeting minutes for the last meeting were distributed to you all via Google Drive. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved as distributed. Now moving on to executive reports. President Kang.
Not many executive reports here, but sorry, it just caught me off guard.
I can go back to you if you want.
Yeah.
Okay. I have great news. After talking about it literally the entire year, 2059, the Dead Week policy finally passed University Senate, which is really, really exciting. Yeah. Thank you to everyone who's worked on that bill. The really main concept of that started way back in March of 2020 with a survey that was originally sent out to the student body. So I'm super excited that Dead Week will finally be what we all think Dead Week should be. And just kind of a general overview, the policy that's being instated will make it so that no assessments or assignments can happen during Dead Week. So that'll allow a little bit of leeway for student mental health, faculty mental health, and allow faculty more time to get grades in before the end of the semester. Additionally, if everyone, I've seen a couple of people have already started working on their transition docs. Please make sure you get those in. I believe I said April 30th at our last meeting, and we're going to try to keep that as a strict of deadline as possible. So please get them in as soon as possible so that future senators know what you worked on and can kind of pick up the baton if you're not coming back next year. And yeah, I'm going to keep it at that because I don't want to get sappy because I got sappy last meeting, and I'll get sappy at the banquet, which actually I can talk about a little bit. The banquet will be the 29th from 6 to 7 p.m. in Stu 302. If you haven't filled out the RSVP yet, please do that in the Everyone Slack channel. And I believe it asks for dietary restrictions as well. So please make sure you get that filled out. Super excited. We're going to have good food, good fellowship, give out some fun awards, and really recognize the accomplishments of this year. With that, I'll turn it back over to President Kang.
Okay, Doug. So we have a few exciting projects coming up, actually, just to wrap up the year. But CARE has notified us that they are in need of some backpacks in order to actually visit survivors and help them with some things that they may need in that moment. So we're going to be purchasing a few backpacks, a few drawstring bags to actually give to the survivors. That'll include clothes, other resources that they may need. But the only thing I was aware of is a clothing need, and then as well as providing them with teddy bears so that the survivors can also keep that just for comfort. And then as Allison mentioned during our bystander training, they are doing a denim paint night, so that is something that PSG will be helping with. So make sure to wear your denim and add a little something to it. And then we will be supporting the Rise Purdue Paralympics tournament that they have with Illinois coming during Dead Week. And RISE stands for Reinventing the Interface of Inclusivity, Sports, and Engineering. So that's a good group. That's a group that we've worked with before and earlier on in this semester to do a movie screening, and we're excited to work with them at the end. With the LGBTQ Center, we're going to be supporting their Lavender graduation, which is a graduation to celebrate those seniors who are graduating as members of the LGBTQ plus community. And as well as the LGBTQ plus Center has mentioned that they have been experiencing food insecurity within the students that they've been visiting. So Vince had the great idea of bringing them having food for them specifically at the center because like during Dead Week, instead of just like how we do at the libraries with the pizzas. The ARC, I have yet to talk to them, but tomorrow I'll be attending an event that they have. And so again, these are just the two initiatives that we have with the Korean Vegan, but making sure that we are supporting the same goals that we were having with her. So those are my updates.
Thank you, President Kang. Any other executive reports? Go ahead.
You guys would just like to give one last report on how exactly court did this semester. So basically, we had a total of 50 traffic court cases this semester, and we astonishingly had the exact same dismissal rate of 70% for all those, same as last semester. So additionally, and I do want to point this out, we had 6 grievance cases with the election cycle this year. As far as from what I've understood, that's a record high. And in the last 3 years total, there were only 2. So we had our work cut out for us this year. I can talk about this more next week, but I really want to commend Senate for being so flexible with working for us on updating the bylaws and making us aware of where we could improve our procedures internally. And yeah, I'm proud of the work we've done this year and ready to celebrate at the banquet next week. So thank you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. And congrats on your level of consistency among both semesters. I love that. Any other executive reports? Pro Temp Reynolds.
Yeah, so for my final update, I have a few things to talk about. So Senate duties are looking good. There are a few open spaces that you guys need to fill in before you leave. I will be nagging you about that even though this is our last session. But they are looking really good, so I'm very proud of everyone. Thank you for always cooperating with me on things like that. And I love talking to you all and seeing what you're doing with your duties. The Senate survival event went well. Obviously, we have the people in the back that we met, and I think I really want to say thank you to the committee chairs who helped put that on. I think we did a good job of explaining just the surface level. We tried to keep it just simple things of what they get when they're entering into Senate. So then, yeah, overall, I just want to say I'm really proud of the committee chairs as they wrap up their initiatives this year. They've all completed what they wanted to at the start, so I'm really proud of them. And I also just want to acknowledge that 92 pieces of legislation before this year, because we're Bill 2192 tonight, so great job to everyone in this room for writing things, taking initiative, and getting things past committee review and hitting the floor. And then also, my goal every senator, either author or sponsor this legislation has been reached. So great that would be
Awesome. That's amazing. And thank you so much for your work on Senate Survival Day. That's awesome. Any other executive reports? Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, so I sent a message out in the Slack for ABTS Exec Board. If anyone is interested in that, please reach out to me and I'll send you more information about their info session on May 2nd.
Thank you. Any other? Yeah, go ahead.
Payments are coming in like crazy at the end of the year. The budget is up to as I can make it for now, but it is still changing. If you are curious in that, you can see it in the drive. If you have any receipts that you might have forgotten to send me, or if you have an event within the next coming week, please try and get those receipts to me by next Wednesday, the 27th, and that way I can have your checks printed for finals week.
Thank you, Sean. Any other executive reports? Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I moved to this side of the room because I didn't want to have to be like reaching over 3 people to get to a mic. Yeah, so I just wanted to provide there will be an executive like report that goes out, and we'll pass all the info off to Shannon, so you'll be able to see it then too. But the initiatives that we put out, you know, sometimes people call it events. We're not a programming board, well aware of that, but part of being able to be effective in student orgs is understanding how to organize events, students, literally tables and materials, and work with all different departments across campus. Like if you can do that well, you will do just fine in pretty much basically any student org on campus. Leadership is a lot more than just organizing those things, but it plays a huge and heavy role. And it's something that I'm personally passionate about that students just typically don't understand and don't know where to find some of these resources. So across the year for us, we have so far had 115, including all the committee's work, with an average attendance of 172 people at these events, which comes out to about 20,100 students that we've interacted with. Part of the goal coming out of COVID for BOD was to literally, in a way, re-energize and re-interact with students that had previously either been to campus without these interactions ever before, or had kind of been pulled back into their rooms or off-campus apartments and not interacting with students, especially student government, as much in general, just because of the way things were. Our main goal, as everybody I think can agree on, is just the ways we go about it is slightly different in our roles, is to literally engage students, hear the student voice, and do the best we can to advocate for them. For me, the theory on the BOD side is literally just to get in front of people. It's kind of shocking sometimes some of the conversations that you can get out of tabling and handing out a donut, or having somebody take a sticky note and put it on a board. So that's kind of our broad scoping thing that's occurred. We have a few more things going that Shannon touched on with the dissolvance of the Korean vegan situation. We are just trying to impact the same communities as we were hoping to with that bill in the first place, and I'm confident that that will occur. And then we'll have everybody's favorite, which seems to be the Dead Week Task Force, which will be going through the libraries in different parts across campus to hopefully provide some sort of caloric energy for students as they're grinding their life away in the libraries. So if you find yourself in one of those spots, you'll probably see us. We'll see you at the closing banquet, and thank you for all the interactions that you had on our end as well throughout the year.
Thank you, Chief of Staff Rayfeld. Any other executive reports? Seeing none, we'll move into committee reports, internal affairs.
Sorry. But basically, IA has wrapped up a majority of our things. We had the longest ever IA session last Friday night, lasted a total of 3 hours. So you guys will see a lot of internal stuff on the floor tonight. We have bylaw updates, ad hocs, recommitment resolution. Additionally, we're finishing up our standing rule updates and having all of that in the transition doc, as well as a lot of us are returning, so writing that legislation, and hopefully the standing rule updates will be ready for our first summer session.
Thank you, Senator Ferguson. Financial affairs?
Yes, so Financial Affairs had our last review session of reviewing grants this Monday. I don't have the exact official numbers, but I do know that we reviewed over 40 applications and gave away over $8,000 to a bunch of student organizations on campus. Wow. We're having our last meeting this Monday. We're going to do some discussion on what the guidelines look like next year, what sort of suggestions we can incorporate in order to improve them so that they can be updated into our bylaws as they currently are. And so we're going to finalize that and move forward with it, looking to the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Senator Dodona. CSRA?
No big updates. We have wrapped up
all of our projects, and you'll see our blue lights resolution on the floor tonight.
Thank you, Senator Corona. UAA.
Yeah, so we had tabling for course evaluations because those just came out on Monday. Passed out infographics that we made last year to the students to take their course evaluations. Jeffrey Elliott with his video crew videoed all the people that wanted to thank their advisors, and that's going to show some time on Teacher or Advisor Appreciation Day on the 29th next week. And tomorrow is our last meeting, and we're just meeting to create a document for the next UAA for next semester, telling them the passion projects that we didn't get to this semester, and hopefully they can carry.
Thank you, Senator de Guzman. Pride ad hoc.
Really just, I know that they wrote the renewal bill and just coming up with a list of things that they want to work on next year.
Thank you. Safer.
Yes, so SAFER has our big event of the year coming up on the 28th in Kroc Lobby from 5 to 7. It's the Consent Tea Party. We're going to be having a lot of involvement from other organizations on campus, from like the LGBTQ Center to Meet You Purdue to the Pride Ad Hoc. So please come if you can. I know a lot of our SAFER members are going to be like manning booths. So if anybody wants to come and help with the logistical side, handing out pastries, making sure people don't burn themselves in hot water, it'd be very, very much appreciated. But yeah, that's going to be the big one. And then we have our legislation to renew us for next year so that we can do some work over the summer as well as move forward. That covers what SAFER's doing.
Awesome. Thank you, Ellie. Emha.
Just really quick update from MHA. We have the resource brochures that were made that were supposed to be passed out during the week. They arrived after the week ended, so that did not happen. But we're currently in coordination, and RHA is interested in taking them and possibly putting them in the rooms of the incoming freshmen. Like when you move in, there's a pile of papers on your desk, so hopefully that will work out.
That's awesome. I love that plan. Any other committees that I missed? Now moving on to informal discussion. Do I hear any informal discussion? Senator Dodona?
Yes, so I know we all had a conversation during caucus about the fact that technically the updates to the Constitution have been made for HEME, and so therefore those bills will have to inevitably be tabled. We did still want to recognize the work that they've done this year, and I'm going to make a formal motion to have an official vote and so let them speak so that they can still hear what they've done and recognize their hard work on the Senate floor without the official bill, because we can't do that. So I'm going to move to recognize the work that Jules and Jane have done as acting executive directors of HEME, and I'd like to yield 4 minutes of my time for them to speak on their work this year.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Jules and Jaden, feel free to share some thoughts if you'd like.
Okay, hi. So I'm Jules. I'm one of the executive directors of HEME. So this year it was definitely challenging starting like at semester, but it was a fantastic opportunity for us, and we were able to create a lot of great partnerships, have a lot of great events. We felt like we were really able to reach a lot of the students, which was fantastic, put a lot of smiles on faces, and really get to hear a lot of feedback, which helped us to kind of lay a good foundation for next year, and hopefully we have a lot of other ideas that we would like to pass along, and we have collaborated with a lot of different organizations, so we are also continuing to have those partnerships and continue them on to next year. So it was a fantastic opportunity, and yeah, it was great, and I personally loved it. So
yeah. I'm Jaden. I'm the co-ED, and I wholeheartely agree with what Jules said. It was an amazing opportunity, and we met a lot of different people. We, met with so many different students, and I feel like the little bit that we were able to do this semester impacted the campus in as much as it could. And we have a lot of great ideas for next year, and we really can't wait to get to that and to help students as much as we can. So thank you for having us.
Awesome. Thank you, Jaden and Jules. Any other discussion or thoughts on that during, would someone like to allocate some time to President King? Senator Ferguson.
I allocate 2 minutes of my time to President King.
Thank you, Senator Ferguson. So Jules and Jaden, do you guys have any desires to join to continue on for next year as well?
Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's been really cool to see people talk about HEAM, and it's really because of you guys that we got to get the ball rolling on it. So really grateful for your hard work, and hopefully, though I may not be on campus, I'll be hearing all about the work that you guys do next year.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. Any other discussion on that? Any other informal discussion? President King.
Point of order, we need to vote on that motion.
Okay. So sorry. No, that's fine. Thank you. Okay. So the motion as it lies is to recognize the work of Jaden. Okay. And Jaden and Jules. Okay, awesome. We'll attempt to take this vote by voice acclamation if that's all right. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Motion passes. Let's go ahead and give them a round of applause. Thank you, Senators, for keeping me in line on that one. Any other informal discussion? Would someone like to allocate some more time to President King? Senator Ferguson.
I allocate 2 minutes of my time to
Go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to be short and sincere. So at the last Senate session, I think things got pretty heated, and I wanted to sincerely apologize again in front of here. This is the last Senate session that we have together, but that me mistakenly saying that the contract had been signed by the Korean vegan was not my intent to in any way sway you guys to do one thing or another. And I just wanted to reiterate that. I've talked to a few of you guys on this issue, but because it did not turn out the way that we wanted it to, because on her end, we still, like I said earlier, we still want to make sure that those initiatives are met before the end of the year. But I guess I can definitely talk to you guys a little bit about, not just that. Let me just back up a little bit. I was saying that the contract had been signed because I was under the impression that it was. However, in my mind, I thought it would have been better to have everything concretely done, signed, sealed, but I did not think about the way that the way we needed your guys' approval as well. So I just wanted to apologize for that publicly, and that I'm really proud of all the work that we've done this year, and that we don't end on that bad term here. So that's my informal.
Thank you, President King. Any other informal discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into old business. Do I hear any old business at this time? Yeah, Senator Skunas.
Motion to bring up Bill 2178.
Second. It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2178. This is the second reading of a bill to amend the bylaws to align the Purdue Student Supreme Court standing rules. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. If the authors would like to discuss again on this, I would allow it. Any discussion? Yeah, Senator Ferguson.
Just to clarify, guys, this is why we had the special second. So special session, I'm so sorry, so that this could have 2 readings and then it will be enacted for the next administration.
Thank you, Senator Ferguson, for that clarification. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into a vote. All those in favor of Bill 2178, please raise your name placards. All opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? For the second time, Bill 2178 passes unanimously. Congratulations. Do I hear any other old business? Seeing none, we'll move into new business. Do I hear any new business at this time? Senator Ferguson.
Madam Chair, I move to table bills 2174 and 2175.
Second.
Are you motioning to postpone definitely to the first summer session of the next term, or indefinitely?
I would say indefinitely,
Okay.
as they have not yet been appointed by the new.
Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded to table both 74 and 75. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. Any discussion on tabling either of those? I know we already talked about it. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of tabling 74 and 75, please raise your name placards. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? 74 and 75 are effectively tabled. Do I hear any other new business at this time? Senator DeDona?
I move to bring up Resolution 2179.
It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2179, a resolution in support of parking passes for student employees. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. And with that, I'll kick it over to Senator Terrell to get started.
Yeah, so if anyone has been to Senate, pretty much any time this entire semester, you've heard me informally update everyone on the process that me and President King have been making. So now that everything is kind of unofficially set in stone, the policy I don't think will be officially changed until we have our last meeting, because I had to conduct a survey of all the employees that it was going to affect. So we kind of have to just hammer that stake the rest of the way in. But I just really wanted to shout out parking and transportation, because Keen has been such a delight to work with. There's been a lot of emails and a lot of meetings, but he is a team spirit. And as he told me and President King in our first meeting, and I quote, "There's a new sheriff in town." So this is just kind of a thanks to them, as well as a reminder to Dining and Culinary that we have heard the complaints of the students, and we are working to help represent them as part of the student body. And then, as well as just, I wanted to author something that I was on a soapbox about. So here we are.
I just had a question, Senator Terrell. It doesn't say it explicitly in any of the therefore clauses, but would you like this sent to Dining and Culinary? Are they looped in?
Honestly, not really.
Okay.
Both my boss and her boss, like, they know I wrote it, but honestly, them reading this isn't going to do anything. Like, this isn't really going to like enact anything. It's already happened.
Okay.
I guess I just wanted to put it into words and have it on record that all of that has happened this semester, and then we reached like a final point towards the end.
Awesome, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that. Would someone like to allocate our lovely advisor some time? Senator Dodona?
I yield 2 minutes of my time to Dr. King.
Thank you. I would just suggest sending it to the student employment, close to student life, which is Heather Beasley, former PhD advisor. Oh man.
I would suggest sending it to Heather Beasley, the former PhD advisor, who is now in charge of student employment, for her to have on file. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. King. Go ahead, Senator Dodona.
I'll make a friendly amendment to add in add a therefore clause that says that this piece of legislation will also be sent to Heather Beasley, the director of
Strategic initiatives.
Strategic initiatives.
I can look up her full title, so I can fix it.
Author good with that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, awesome. I'll make sure that friendly amendment gets added. Any other discussion? Yeah, Senator Escones.
Just wondering, how many students would this open up parking to, since it's a pretty significant reduction in hours for the employee parking pass?
Yeah, so great question. So previously, the parking passes weren't accessible to any student employees, because there was a requirement that you had to work at least 30 hours a week or more to qualify for a parking pass. And that's also the hourly requirement for like what's needed to get additional things like insurance, but that's a whole different thing. So we employ on average 300 to 400 students a semester. And so this just goes to tell you how, I mean, it will affect all of those students. I think out of the 160 some I sent the survey to, we had about 180 responses. And if anyone has ever sent out a survey to a large group of people, I was pretty content with over a 50% response rate. And they were extremely positive. So I think 41 people said that they wouldn't be interested, and the rest of them said they were. And then that was divided between both pass options, both the A and the B. So I could give them the most specific response of like, you can expect roughly X amount of people will be spending this on a B pass, and then X amount of people will be interested in spending it more money for the more expensive A pass.
Yeah.
So is this department change within transportation to 15 hours, is it just for dining and culinary, or is it any student employee?
Yeah, so I personally got on this because I work for HR and dining and culinary, and so I had a really personal connection to seeing the need. And basically, the way I was able to get this done this semester was to admit that while this is specific for dining and culinary, because I know our shifts and the amount of students that we hire, it's kind of the general consensus with parking and transportation that if another department also sees this need for their students, they need to supply the kind of data that I had to supply in order to get this conversation rolling. Because dining and culinary has shifts that go from 4 to 9, where a lot of parking places open up at 5. If a different department has shifts that only start at 6, then they don't have that same type of need. So it's more on a department-to-department basis.
Thank you, Senator Terrell. Any other discussion? Yeah.
And to confirm, would they be qualifying for the opportunity to buy a pass, or would they be given an employee pass?
Yeah, so as much as I would love the university to be willing to just give us passes, with those passes averaging between $100 and $250, that's simply not feasible, although I wish. So this just gives them the option to purchase it, but they haven't had that option in over 15 years. So I think just getting our foot in the door is a great place to start, and then, we can work. So like the next thing that I'm unofficially tackling with this is to get the radius reduced for people and that would just be students in general that qualify for parking passes. So now that I've learned that I can get somewhere, that was the first mistake because I'm taking my inch and I'm gonna have about 7 miles when we're done.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Terrell. Do we hear any other discussion on 2179? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor, please raise your name placards. All opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Resolution 2179 passes unanimously. Congratulations. Do I hear any other new business? Senator Buftas?
Motion to bring up Bill 2180.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2180, proposal for the PSG Ad Hoc Committee on Mental Health Action for the 2022-2023 academic year. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. With that, Pro Temp Reynolds, you can go ahead and discuss.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. So the purpose of this bill going forward of it is just make sure that MHA is involved with the student government next year, and that it can be something that hits the ground running once the school year starts. That's why it passed so early. And in the whereas clauses, if you guys look at the document, there's a lot of data on the past 3 years of MHA, that how many students it has reached, like big events. You guys have heard me talk about it all year, and I just really believe that it has become a Purdue student government staple on campus, and I love seeing all the green bandanas everywhere, and I just really think that having Mental Health Action Week as an ad hoc is very important to the students on campus who want to get involved, and to how many students on campus it can reach and benefit.
Thank you, Veronica. Any discussion? Would someone like to allocate some time to President King? Senator Ferguson?
I allocate 2 minutes of my time to President King.
Thank you. So for the second therefore clause, it says Veronica Reynolds will be the committee chair. Veronica, would you guys be willing to amend this document if a co-chair is found, or are we not doing the co-chair situation?
Look at the rest of the.
It was just bolded, so it caught my attention.
No, you're fine, Shannon. Yeah, and it says co-chair position, and also like in the past we've had like officers, and so it just like depends on what's needed, what initiatives people want to do within the committee. So that's why it's just like, it's open to whoever's interested. And I think that decision will happen during the school year probably.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote on Bill 2180. All those in favor, please raise your name placards. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Bill 2180 passes. Congratulations. Do I hear any other new business? Senator Escudas?
Motion to bring up Bill 2181.
It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2181, the renewal of PSG Ad Hoc Committee, Purdue's Resource for Inclusivity, Diversity, and Equity, better known as the PRIDE Ad Hoc Committee. This is amendable and debatable, requires a majority vote. Any of the authors would like to get started first? Yeah, Senator Terrell.
Yeah, so we, as the people that authored it, and then Elliot, who might have also been in the Pride, basically we saw that it was just a great thing to be a part of. We had a lot of good communication with both the LGBT Center and just LGBT students in general. We had a lot of response for that, and so there was no need for the work that we're doing to end. So we just wanted to get it renewed. That way things can be, discussed over the summer and plans can be made. So we'll have an even better upcoming year.
Awesome. Thank you, Sydney. Any other discussion? Alrighty, we're leaning towards efficiency now. All those in favor of Bill 2181, please raise your name placards. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Bill 2181 passes. Do I hear any other new business? Senator Dodona.
I move to bring up Bill 2182.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2182, renewal of PSG Ad Hoc Committee on Safety, Accountability, and Fostering an Environment of Respect Committee for the 2022-2023 academic year. So the SAFER Ad Hoc renewal is amendable and debatable, requires a majority vote. Senator Dodona, go ahead and take it away.
Yes, so this is just the, as we've all seen a few times before, this is the renewal bill for SAFER Ad Hoc Committee. The sentiment is that SAFER oftentimes likes to do some work over the summer, which is really cool. So in doing it this semester, doing it currently, that allow us to still operate within PSG over the summer and do some of the work that we like to do over the summer as well. We spent a lot of time this year doing with this. You all saw some of the fruits of our labor, the SAFER Sexual Misconduct Action Plan passing here, as well in the University Senate, as well as our consent Tea Party happening. So those are some of the things we've worked on in the past, and we're really excited to work on future initiatives like those.
Awesome. Thank you, Senator Dodona. Any discussion? Questions? See none, we'll move into a vote on Bill 2182. All those opposed, raise your name placards. Oh wait, all those in favor. Sorry, switched it up on you. All those in favor, please raise your name placards. The look on horror on like half your faces. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Bill 2182 passes unanimously. Congratulations. It's my last session, might as well just change it up, you know? Any other new business? Senator Skunas.
Motion to bring up Bill 2183.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up a resolution. Sorry, it's wrong on the slide. 2183, a resolution in support of updating blue light boxes. This is amendable and debatable, requires a majority vote. Any author would like to take the helm? Go ahead.
Yeah, I can. So this resolution has been CSRA's year-long project. We wanted to improve campus safety, and we thought looking at the blue light boxes, so like the ETS systems, they're all updated as PUPD says. So, and then something while we were working on them, we noticed that out of 300 ETS systems that we have on campus, only 20 of them have cameras. So we thought it's important, in order to improve campus safety, to ask Purdue to update those systems with camera technology, because when we were in our meetings with PUPD, they said that if someone is running and they're hitting a blue light box and they run like 20 feet or 30 feet and hit another one, while the police department is responding and on the phone, or like they're sending an officer out, they're able to track the direction the person is running in. But on campus, in many areas, there's not another closer ETS system box that the person can hit, or it's not in the direction that they're running or whatever. So having camera technology will allow PUPD to have better like visuals of where the person is, like just seeing who the, like getting a visual on like the victims, or just seeing like important details like clothing, gender, like number of people, who's there. Yeah.
Thank you, Senator Corona. Any other discussion? Senator Skunas.
Just to clarify, would it be 28 systems replaced each semester, or would it be 28 replaced over 10 semesters?
No, 28 systems replaced each semester over the course of the next 10 semesters.
And, Senator DeLucia Green.
I think it's supposed to be 280 total over the next 10 semesters. Out of the 300 ETS systems that are in place, only 20 of them have cameras. So the remaining 280 would be replaced with cameras.
Any discussion or response?
Yeah. Yeah, what Sam's saying is right.
Yeah, it's just a typo.
Okay, so just to clarify, so to replace 280 ETS units, are you proposing a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Authors, can you give me a thumbs up? Author. But all the authors have to consent. Everybody good with that? Okay. I'll make sure that gets changed. Okay. Any other discussion? Pro Tem Reynolds.
I just really wanted to express my support. I'm an author just because I have to help reformat a little bit, but express my support. Weekly meetings with Ashita, she's talked about all the progress that her group has done with this. There were roadblocks, there were times where they had to back up and think of a new idea, so I just want to say good job to CSRI for coming up with this solution that seems like tangible and something that the university can actually work with. I think that's also very important to acknowledge, and so I just want to express my support.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote on Bill 2183. All those in favor, please raise your name placards. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Resolution 2183 passes unanimously. Congratulations. Do I hear any other new business? Pro Tem Reynolds.
Motion to bring up Resolution 2184.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2184, a recommitment to abide to internal affair priorities. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. With that, I can first go ahead and kick off. I wasn't a primary author on this, but after going to that extensively long IA meeting, Shannon and I and Lily actually became authors on this bill. And a lot of what this is aiming to do is taking accountability for the missteps that may have happened this year by all branches of PSG, and really making a commitment moving forward, especially with new senators in the room, with our new president and vice president-elect in the room, making a recommitment to really stand by our governing documents in the future, and go through them with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that we're committing ourselves to the things in our governing documents that are really supposed to allow us to lead the student body in the most effective way and hold each other accountable in terms of checks and balances and things like that. So I would also recognize any other author that would like to provide some insight. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Olivia, for talking about that. I started working on this resolution with Lynn and Ishida, and it went through quite a few different forms, but I'm glad it's the version it's in now. It's meant to recognize that we all have responsibilities to uphold, and that we want to make sure that we are doing our best to serve the people that we represent. That's our job as members of PSG. And it's also to serve as a reminder that we should be checking on what each other's doing, and that we should be making sure that everybody's adhering to what they're supposed to be doing throughout the entire school year.
Thank you, Senator Iskunis. Senator Corona.
I echo what Senator Iskunis says, but I also wanted to add that I think another purpose of this resolution is to increase the transparency between PSG and the student body by just acknowledging that we do slip up sometimes. And then another part of it was just kindly reminding the new administration, the incoming senators, that it's important to abide by the governing documents and there are checks and balances.
Yeah. Senator Silver.
Yeah, just like what Ashita and you, Olivia, what you said, is that I know the session is really long, but I really want to speak to the senators who are new and the senators who are going to continue to be senators next semester and in our next session tonight. Just because this is a really important thing that, you know, everyone in all branches of PSG are following the Constitution to ensure that, you know, we're a fair governing body. So I just really want to point out to everyone, especially the new administration, especially the new senators, like, we have to keep ourselves in check, make sure that we're following the rules throughout the semester, and that next semester as senators, you should intervene just like whenever you see something right away. Don't wait until the end. If you see something, talk on it and try and get those issues addressed as soon as possible and ensure that there's nothing that gets built up or anything of the sorts.
Would someone like to allocate some time to President King? Oh, wait. Duh. Go ahead.
Yeah. And just to tie that all together, I think my favorite part about this, it's in its revisions, is that in the therefore clauses there are action steps. So this piece of legislation is a recommitment. It's already stated in our governing documents, but it's a really easy tool for those, all of us who are leaders in this organization to look back to and understand that these are just some small slip-ups that we may have had, but are of really high importance that the senators wanted to bring forth. So applaud all of internal affairs work for that, and I think the 3-hour meeting, the first 2 hours of it was very productive. So thank you for all that time that you guys gave.
Senator Dodonna.
Yeah, I just sort of wanted to speak in my support of the sentiment of this bill, of this conversation about ensuring accountability. I guess like my favorite part and the thing I really think this bill does the best job of is centering the Constitution and bylaws within our organization and ensuring that like when we make that oath, that's a serious oath that we're all taking into consideration, and ensuring that any violation of those is addressed in the best possible way.
Thank you, Senator Dodonna. Senator Ferguson?
Yeah, and I just kind of want to echo some of the thoughts, but also state that I think that the most like tangible part of this is providing respectful and professional checks and balances to ensure all constitutional obligations are being upheld. I think that it's sometimes hard to speak up to your peers and people that you respect and have been working with for a really long time and say, hey, this isn't being done correctly, we need to step up and make sure that it's happening, but it's something that's so essential to how we function as a student government. And I just really want to emphasize that and ensure that all new and returning senators understand that it's not something that we take personally, it's just something that we have to do to uphold the values of our organization.
Thank you, Senator Ferguson. Any other discussion? Senator Silver?
I also want to just remind everyone, because I know that a lot of people in this room have seen this resolution in a bunch of different forms, to make sure that when you're voting on its current form and not the steps that it's gone through, or be using the steps that it has been gone through as a basis of whether or not you want to vote on its changes now. You should be voting on how the bill is in its present state.
Thank you. Lynn? Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote on Resolution 2184. All those in favor, please raise your name placards. All those opposed? Any abstentions? With a vote of 2301, Resolution 2184 passes. Congratulations, guys. Yes, Senator Dodonna.
I move to vote on bills 2185 to 2190 Act 1 and bring up said bill to the floor.
Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded to combine 2185 through 2190. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. If it's all right with you guys, we're going to go ahead and vote on bringing that forward and combining those via voice acclamation. All those opposed, please say, or all those in favor, sorry, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes. We'll now be discussing the conglomerate bill of 2185 through 89. Still amendable, still debatable, still requires a majority vote. Or 2185 through 90. Sorry if I said the wrong numbers. Senator Ferguson? Yeah.
I can't remember the past process. Are we allowed to discuss in the presence of those who are receiving stipends and then move away? Or how is that process working? Because I know that generally there has to be a chair switch when this happens.
Of voting on stipends?
Yeah. Is it solely voting or is it also discussion?
Discussion as well. Yeah. So pretty much all the executive branch needs to leave, which leaves Senator Dodona as the chair. Okay, perfect. We'll go ahead and do a little switch out here, guys.
Is there any discussion at the time? This includes the all 5 stipends. Senator
We're discussing all 5 of them right now, or are we going to discuss them individually?
You can bring up individual conversation on any individual bill, but we are going to vote on them as a whole, so if you want to jump around, that's fine as well. Is there any other discussion at the time? Senator Skunis?
I just want to ask if anybody has any specific reason why they would be opposed to voting for stipend in its current form. The way we should view it is, has every single person who's receiving a stipend fulfilled their constitutional duty? If they have, then we should vote that they receive the remainder of their stipend, and if they have not, then I would also open up discussion about the potential for how we should reduce that.
As opinion from the Financial Affairs Chair, the sentiment behind stipends is looking at the Constitution and bylaw obligations and ensuring that they filled all those obligations. A lot of time we like to talk about how awesome people were, and they were all awesome in their roles, but in terms of the stipend, the conversation has to be centered on the constitutional obligation that they assigned within this position. Considering both of those two things, is there any other discussion at this time? Senator Merkel.
So have we taken a hard look at the Constitution to see if anything was, happened to be broken? I guess focusing on the Korean vegan situation, was any of that against the Constitution?
Senator Skunis.
Looking specifically at their duties, I didn't see anything that was, I guess, explicit about breaking the Constitution there, although it kind of inherently did.
Senator Terrell.
Just to provide some more context on that, and that was a big portion of the debate that took place, was that it's generally thought, at least from the people that attended that meeting, that the information that was mentioned during the discussion of the Korean vegan, led to some influence in the way people voted, which, I mean, that means the vote was affected by false information that should have not, theoretically shouldn't have been said because it wasn't verified or correct. So that was something that was debated a lot because it could, that was a direct interference with the Senate vote because we had information that wasn't true and we could only vote off what we knew in the present. So that was, technically that's, you can't put in the Constitution. He said that something was right and then we all voted to it and then it wasn't true. But that, it happened, so.
Senator Ferguson.
Yeah, and I want to just say that I don't agree with the actions that were taken on the Senate floor. I do not agree with the fact that we were blatantly told something was true when it was not. The contract had not been signed, and therefore at the time there had been no breach in the Constitution or the bylaws because at the time nothing had been signed and no money had been given out that we had not approved. Additionally, there's nowhere in the Constitution or the bylaws that explicitly states, hey, don't lie to the Senate. I think that it's something that we all take personally, and I think that it's something that we should all take personally because it's it degrades the efficacy and the way we can work, but because it's not a direct constitutional or bylaw breach, I would be very hesitant to take away a portion of someone's stipend.
Senator Skunas?
I would second that. I probably wouldn't support a stipend reduction for that same reason. I would like to point out that one of the duties of the student body president is to make internal and external appointments as required of them. And one thing that did happen this school year was the elections director was not appointed until, I believe it was the second session of the spring semester, when the elections director is meant to be appointed by the second session of the fall semester. So that would be a breach of constitutional duty. I'd just like to hear if anybody
Would anyone
has
like to
anything to say
yield
about it.
time to former Senator Chris? Senator Silver.
I yield 2 minutes of my time to Evan.
All right, so just for a little context, as someone who's been in this chamber for 3 years, the last 3 elections directors were not appointed until second semester. I know what it says in the Constitution, but that's just been that's been the kind of precedent that we've had going the last few years.
Senator Carana.
Even though that's been the precedent for the last 3 years, we just passed a resolution that's kind of reminding us to abide by the government document. So I don't think how past administrations did it should be looked at. I think it should just be what happened this year, because regardless, even if that was the precedent, they didn't follow the Constitution.
Senator Ferguson.
I would like to echo that sentiment, and that precedent, while important, doesn't change the fact whether it's not black and white against or following the Constitution. I would like to say that following precedent has gotten, for our governing documents and not reading them to their fullest extent, has gotten us into sticky situations right now, with the court standing rules. Got us into a very sticky situation because precedent was continually followed. Sorry, not trying to call anyone out, but precedent was continuously followed instead of following our governing documents. And that's not how we should not set the precedent to just say, oh, because it's been happening like this, that's okay. We should be following our rules.
I'm going to have a conversation with Senator Dona. I guess in the end of the day, I think that when we talk about accountability, I'm all for it. I do think that in that conversation, even if we agree that a minor, some sort of breach within this conversation has been made, I think it's also important to call on ourselves in that element. If we're taking away some percent of a stipend for possibly one breach of the Constitution and bylaws, has every single senator been doing their office hours that they're supposed to do? Has every single senator been doing their outreach as they're supposed to be? I think that when we have those conversations about accountability, that if we're going to say let's reduce someone's stipend that we've agreed to give them, it should also have a conversation about ensuring that all of us are upholding it to the degree that if we were receiving stipend, that we'd like a misstep like that to decrease the work we've done this year. I know there's my hands. Yes, Senator Brown.
Yeah, going off of what you're saying, Senator sorry, I just had a brain lapse. Going off what you're saying, Ellie, I agree with what you're saying, and I think, yes, I agree with you, Senator Ferguson, in terms of the precedent doesn't need to be what is an excuse almost, but I think it's important that we recognize the precedent and move to change it going forward. But we're currently working on the stipend, and do we think that this lapse of the Constitution and this focus on the precedent in the past should impact someone's stipend? And if so, I guess, where does that conversation lead? In my opinion, I feel like, as it's stated, budgeted stipend for their service during the spring semester, they did perform their service. In my opinion, I think we should just vote on this, and I am in support. But if there is conversation on this constitutional mishap, where does that lead us?
Would someone like to yield time to our advisor? Senator Silver.
I yield 2 minutes of my time to Dr. King.
I appreciate it. I saw more of this meeting than I have thought.
if you are going to change any amount of the stipend, what is the method to do so? I am going through my own performance appraisals right now, and yes, all my staff did their job. Some did parts of their job better than the others. How do you grade that? You don't currently have a mechanism to do so, and so are you making up a mechanism tonight without even informing the people what the mechanism is? So I think that those are great ways to hold people accountable in the future, but currently you don't have that. And I understand the thought process of holding people accountable for something they should have did earlier. I would say you all should have told them earlier. Throwing it out there, don't shoot the messenger. I am talking about performance appraisals. We'll love to do this as a session at our retreat in the fall. Look forward to it. Thank you.
I'd like to just make one comment based on our advisor's comment. This has been done in the past. I just think that should be a note for everyone, that there has been a reduction of stipends via not obtaining their duties. Again, that was a more severe case, but I just want that noted that technically we do have a process and it is an amendment on the floor or brought up, or it's already being brought to the floor with the reduction. Senator Creighton. I just did the same thing.
I didn't know. Yeah, I was about to ask about precedent just because I know obviously governing documents are important, as we have clarified, but I also think it's important to, especially in this case where we are dealing with something that is not done all the time, or the potential of it not being done all the time, what precedent has happened from anyone who went through that, or Dr. King, like anyone who has any thoughts on the precedent? I'm curious for myself.
It happened once my freshman year. It was brought, the chief of staff's stipend was reduced. It was reduced before it hit the Senate floor. So that was already reduced. Stipends are now handled by financial affairs, but I'm not sure, I don't believe they always have been. And so that was a reduction that was made prior to the Senate ever seeing it. In my opinion, based on experience, I would say that this would need to be an amendment if we wanted to have that conversation on the floor. And I believe Senator Ferguson can confirm this, that there's a process of reviewing this if they disagree with the stipend via the court. Senator Bellman.
Yeah, and I think also just kind of going back and echoing what Dr. King has said, I think really before we consider, talking about potential even, amendments to this, I think we really need to consider, I guess, just the intentionality behind each one of the executive officers. And I know that obviously the Korean vegan bill and the elections director were things where, we in Senate felt, it was somewhat slighted in that we were either pressured into something or that we felt that we didn't have enough information. And that's definitely very valid to feel that. But I think another really important point is also the intentionality in which, the officers acted. And I personally don't believe that, they did these actions to the point of being like, I'm going to slight the Senate. I'm going to make Senate feel bad. I think, as we all know, Shannon and Olivia both expressed their, regrets for what happened and their apologies. Obviously, that does not change what happened, but I think it's important to consider that, the intentionality behind their actions was not entirely, negative. They intended on bringing this speaker and they intended on, having the elections director, but I don't think there was any, malintent on directly at the part of the Senate. So I think that's just another thing to consider is, like someone else said earlier, are we going to let, one or two events like that were not, fully done out of malintent, tarnish, an entire, I'd say, year's worth of work. So that's just something to consider.
Senator Ferguson.
I was asked for clarification on the bylaws. But so how it reads is, if a failed attempt to earn a stipend occurs, then the person in question may appeal to the Student Supreme Court for a hearing on the outcome of the vote. How that reads to me is not if there is a reduction, they can go to the court. How it reads to me is if they did not get the 2/3 vote to even receive a stipend, they could go to the court. So that brings some hesitancies to my mind, as if they disagreed with how we did this, there would be no way for us to go back or the court to go back. I don't particularly agree with how the bylaws are reading, but I think that that's how they read, and it does give some pause.
Senator Hill.
So I think we've kind of covered like what will happen if we do decide to amend one of these. But does anyone actually have an amendment, or can we kind of just go forward to vote on them? Because I don't know about you guys, but we have a whole other session that's about to be happening. So while we can all agree that if we want to amend them, things will happen, but is that even going to happen, or can we just kind of get on with it?
Senator Merkel.
So, I agree with much of what's been said. However, I'm not exactly afraid to say that, at least from my perspective, it sounded like Vince and Shannon and those involved with the whole contract, they knowingly at least attempted to sign it before getting approval from the Senate, which is necessary for a purchase that is that large. I don't think we should take away a huge chunk of their stipends because they seem sorry for it, but I definitely have a problem with us not doing anything to rectify or set a precedent moving forward that there will be no punishment if you attempt with the intent to do something like that, which is against the rules. And it's good that it turned out that they accidentally didn't sign it, but they tried to. I feel like that counts. So I would support something like removing like $100 or $150 or something that sends a message but doesn't completely discount any other work they've done this year. That's where I'm at.
Okay, I'm gonna just make a note for everyone. I'm not, this is my first, I don't chair this often, so I'm gonna try to do my best to allocate time. Senator Fridlin and then Senator Brown, and then we'll have someone give time to our advisor to talk. I just wanna make sure everyone has a fair chance.
Just two quick things. Kind of echoing what Mason said, I do or actually what Claire said. President Kang did show a lot of remorse, but did Vince show remorse at all to anyone? I didn't see anything in the chat, so I didn't know. I went back and checked.
From my understanding, Vince was not very much involved with this. He at least told me that he had no hand in it before it coming to the floor and did not know about the contract being signed beforehand. That's to my knowledge.
The only concern I have with that is the statements that were made within Senate. Even though unknowing, they were somewhat aggressive. Aggressive isn't the right word, but they were very poignant of like, nothing that we do will change the fact. And I do think that statement was probably the most concerning to me personally. And I kind of echo, like I would think we'd have to talk about the amendment, but that's my concern.
All right, I think I said Senator Brown next. And then someone will yield time to the advisor, and then Senator Terrell, and then Senator Mariani.
I definitely agree with what you're saying. It also seemed as though there was a lot of miscommunication in the sense of, I remember Vince saying like, oh, I just looked over this for the past hour, I'm gonna say what I think I know. But he was very poignant in terms of, this is happening if you like it or not. And I know that President Kang did show remorse, but I don't necessarily know if he did. But kind of going back to the amendment, it was discussed earlier, they didn't actually breach the Constitution. And yes, it may have been planned that they were going to, but it didn't actually happen. So I guess my question kind of is, if they planned for it to happen and it didn't, it's like, if someone planned a crime but it didn't happen, are we still going to say that, oh, you're going to be docked? And if so, then what is that precedent for going forward if someone thinks about something?
I'm going to yield 2 minutes of my time to Advisor King.
I just want to talk about process. And so individual students, members of student organizations cannot sign a contract. So if I could talk about process a little bit, the contract, and I will take some ownership, which I did send an email out to a couple folks of not, like it could have been stopped with me in the business office for student organization. It got lost in the email. And so it was literally, wait, do we have Senate approval for this? And it was after the actual Senate meeting. Sorry, I did get off the meeting earlier. The other advisor was here. He didn't know what's going on. He is new. But, and so literally when it was checked in the morning, the business office had not signed the contract. It was not signed by the speaker. And so there can be checks and balances in the future, even for advisor in the business office. And we also now have the treasurer tagged on events to ensure we have the proper bills associated that payment can move forward. But I do want to talk, folks were speaking as if students can sign contracts. They cannot sign contracts. It has to be signed through the office. And anything of that nature, large scale, has to happen in advance. So.
All right, I believe I said Senator Terrell and then Senator Mariani and then Senator Perella.
Carol, that's okay. Just putting it out there for the next term. So in response to you, and I know that was like 2 speakers ago, but I feel as like part of IA who has been in every conversation that has happened since that Senate meeting, like even the next day we met, and then of course we met about it in IA. Vince actually has not been a part of that at all, and I actually hadn't thought of that, but if you guys remember what we were told that caucus, it was supposed to be Vince and Shannon's baby, so that is actually a really interesting point to me, that he took charge on his baby, but was speaking incorrectly. So that's fair. And then, since we're casually discussing things that would influence our decisions, it has not sat right with me since, Shannon has said it both in private conversation with like IA, and then she echoed the sentiment whenever she spoke to us earlier. But the idea that she thought that it would go better for them if Senate thought the contract was signed because like all the boxes would have been checked except for Senate approval. To me, I thought that entire sentiment is out of place because, in my personal opinion, because if you're signing all the boxes except for the one that's required to sign some of the other boxes that you're checking off, I just personally don't think that's a sentiment that needs to be repeated when it comes to the Senate. Like, we first and foremost should have made that decision before the boxes under ours were checked. So I just think that interesting to mention.
Senator Mariani.
Yeah, I'd like to echo a lot of Senator Terrell's sentiment, as well as Senator Merkel's from a little while ago, because even though that the contract had not actually been signed, certain members of cabinet were acting under the assumption that it was signed, and I think doing so and not letting Senate know that until the actual Senate session does read as, and I truly, nothing against any of the cabinet members, I think they've done an excellent job, but these specific actions do read as a little bit deceitful and underhanded to me. And I think we as a representative body for the students, I think it would be a disservice to not let those actions go without consequence.
Senator Perella.
So I guess that one of the things that I've been grappling with is that to get back to the conversation of like what a stipend actually is, I don't think that any of the actions that we've talked about tonight amount to something that is deliberately and explicitly unconstitutional. I don't think that miscommunication or like confusion about, what's been signed, I don't think that amounts to something that is deliberately and explicitly unconstitutional. To me, I don't think that I don't think that taking away a portion of someone's stipend is a way to address accountability for miscommunication. I think that there are other avenues to go down. I think that there's other checks and balances we can ensure in the future. I think that there's other things we can have in our bylaws to ensure that this doesn't happen, but I don't necessarily think that subtracting from a stipend is the perfect avenue for accountability for something that in my mind was not unconstitutional.
Alrighty, if you're raising your name placard, please do it high so I can sort of give as much appropriate time in the eyes of the chair. I got Senator Ferguson, Senator Thomas, Senator Silver, Senator Mariani will be the order.
Okay, so I'll make this brief because I know we have a lot else to do today, but I would agree with the sentiment that black and white, I don't think that this was a breach of the Constitution. Is it emotionally a breach of the Constitution, or was the intent to breach the Constitution? Potentially. But black and white, was it a breach of the Constitution? No. Secondly, I do want to give a little bit of context on my conversations with Vince the day of the stipend, or not the stipend bills, the Korean vegan bill. I had called him earlier that day to talk about the HEAM bills because I was like, hey, you can't do this, it's against the Constitution. as I say a lot. And then I said, hey, the Korean vegan bill's going on. I know that we haven't gotten a lot of information on it. Do you have any information, or are you expected to speak on the floor? And he laughed, and he was like, I know nothing. He wasn't looped in when Liv said that it was like his baby. That was just not true at the time. Additionally, when he had said, like, guys, it's over, like, if the contract's been signed, I would like to point out that that was after Shannon had already stated that the contract was signed, and he was responding to that sentiment. And so in my opinion, it was more of a, I just want to tell you guys black and white that if this has been signed, it's over, like it doesn't matter, and not a, I think that this has been signed, I have been a part of the signing of this contract. So that's just more of a context of my experience with the whole situation.
Senator Thomas?
Yeah, I think this is like a quote from the recent Netflix documentary about Inventing Anna, about how, like, was she dangerously close or not in committing a crime? And I think in this scenario, they were not. As Dr. King pointed out, that they, like, I know SAO and SOGA, like, they would have not approved something like that. Once they, like, looked at it, I think ultimately, like, this, we should write up an amendment about maybe a deceitful nature, with that emotions and words, but like the discussion is kind of, whatever they did had no actual consequence, but we should figure out ways to punish or in the future have an amendment against deceitful natures and trying to get things passed.
Senator Silver.
So I know that a lot of the conversation recently has been about the Korean vegan. I just had a question for, I guess, the whole floor. If for the things that are outside of the Korean vegan, such as like the website being updated and whatnot, was there ever, do people have have people ever reached out to them about these other things, and were they dealt with at that time?
Alrighty, to answer a direct question, Senator Ferguson.
I can speak on the website updates as well as the elections director situation. The elections director, at the very beginning of the year as IA chair, I had a sit-down conversation with Liv, with Olivia and Shannon, just, hey, let's go through Constitution, let's go through the obligations. The elections director was brought up, and at the time it was already past the Senate second session, and I was aware that it was not going to come up because they had not had anything. At the time, we had already been working on the amendment to make it in the spring, so I didn't see it as a big deal. And personally, while it's not my constitutional obligation, I can take accountability for if that is something that is going to come up in the stipend conversation. I knew about it, and I should have brought it to you all sooner. I'll take accountability for that. That is partially on me. Secondly, the websites, those technically fall under the Executive Director of Technology, but I have been in conversation with Olivia in February as well as recently about making sure that those have been completed. And it was something that was brought up in that original conversation because voting records have never been on the PSG website in my time in PSG.
Senator Mariani.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I will pass my time.
I'm gonna make a quick remark and then Senator Skinis. I think that there is a tangible conversation about violations of the Constitution that have happened in this role, and I think that's a fair point to be made, and I agree. I think it should have been brought up a little earlier, before the stipend bill conversation. However, at the end of the day, I think that if you're gonna say, let's take these are particularly for this semester, and so in my opinion, to say like, how are we going to appropriately deduct, if we were even considering that, to the degree of which that has happened? I don't think, speaking back to what Advisor King said, like there's no real process for saying, well, you didn't meet one of your requirements, we're deducting 10% of your stipend for that. It's really hard to quantify that. And so in my opinion, I think that we've had a conversation, we've made an official bill on the floor. I think there have been consequences internally, even if not a reduction in money. But that is sort of my perspective from the stipend conversation. Senator Skinis.
I'd like to fully echo what you just said. I'd also like to say I think it would really be worth dating that metric for future years, so this isn't as difficult of a conversation on the floor, so it's a whole lot easier to quantify it at a date like this. Maybe that has something to do with the number of conversations that have been had, the response to those conversations, whatever it may be. But I would like to ask at this point if anybody is planning on making an amendment, because if not, I do move that we vote.
Alrighty, is there any more discussion on these bills? Alrighty, well, seeing no discussion, all those in favor of passing bills 2185, 26, 86, 87, 88, 89, and 90, please raise your name placards high.
Point of order, Madam Chair. This is a 2/3 vote.
2/3 majority is needed for this vote. Alrighty, you can put them down. All those opposed? Any abstentions? So sorry, can you keep the abstentions up for me?
Also remember that you need to put their names down for voting records.
That's what I'm doing. Oh. Alrighty, you can remove your name placards. Any 20-0-4 vote in my math of 2/3 that these bills pass. Would some, okay, someone's gonna go grab them so they can be brought in. Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. Ooh, I also would like to be called Senator Did for the rest of the year. I really appreciate the nickname, Senator Brown. I mean, I messed up Sydney, so it's my fault too. Yes. There's 4 abstentions, and I wrote them all here.
Awesome, thank you.
There's too many answers. Also, someone spoke to me, and I got really scared.
Oh, it's Nathan. Okay. Awesome. Do I hear any other new business at this time? Senator Skunis.
Motion to bring up Bill 2191.
It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2191, the reallocation of unspent original allocations for 2021 through 2022 fiscal year. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. Sean or Ellie, would you like to get started first? Go ahead.
Yeah, so this bill came about over a conversation about wanting to access money that sort of sits in different pockets of the PSG budget. In essence, when we sort of allocate that initial budget to everyone, that has to stay where we initially put it. And so like in college funds, it has to be accessed by the people from those colleges. And so the intention behind this bill is to allow for all those little pockets of money to be grabbed at the end of the year to put into like an ambiguous discretionary, so that the treasurer and as new administration transitions, so that they can access that money to use key things that PSG needs. There is some checks and balances within this bill already in place. We mentioned 3 main spending that could be over $2,500. So that's a QPR training, that's ABTS conference, and then lastly, some like computer upgrades that are required. And so if those are the 3 objects that can be used for over $2,500 from this, and the rest cannot be done. So this all sort of collects all the money and allows for new administration as well as the treasurer to be able to grab that money and pay for things as needed. Just an important note, I believe the date is April 30th. So if you want to use that money, it's still your money up until that point. So if you have an intended use for it or have any other purposes, please let Treasurer Wiseman know and it won't be pulled in. So you still have access to the money if you're planning on using it.
Awesome. Thank you, Senator Dodona. Treasurer Wiseman.
I just want to add, we started the budget in the first or second session. It's just hard to budget at the beginning of the year for the whole thing. So having this flexibility to still use the funds that have been allocated to us for things that maybe we misbudgeted for or didn't plan as well for would be very helpful.
Thank you, Sean. Senator Skunas.
I'm just wondering at this point how much money would be moved around. You don't have to give me.
Based on what I know, we have about $20,000 that has been unallocated in a bunch of different pockets. I think we still have some initiatives, some dead week stuff, but ballpark there based on my number.
Thank you, Sean. Any other discussion or questions? Senator Ferguson?
Just a curious question. This money can only be used until the end of the fiscal year, correct?
Yes, until the end of June, and then the next budget will come into play.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote on Bill 2191. All those in favor, please raise your name placards. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? With that, Bill 2191 passes unanimously. Congratulations. And with that, do I hear any other new business? None. Okay. Awesome. Now moving into announcements. Really quickly, I threw it in the Slack, and it looks like with how long we're going this evening, we'll end just in time. So if you're still hungry after the food from Caucus, the College of Ag Council will be hosting the Moonlight Pancake Breakfast right in Memorial Mall, kind of Ag Mall kind of area. There's bouncy houses, there's free pancakes from IHOP, and that'll be going until 1 a.m. tonight. So I strongly encourage you guys all to go. Do I hear any other announcements at this time? Dr. King?
SAO will be hosting snacks during finals week. So come up on Wednesday through Friday, grab a bag, fill it up with all the junk food you need, fruit snacks, granola bars, juices. I invite you all as my special guest to come by. But it'll be a table right in outside our office in Prop 370. So please come by and get all the snacks you need to keep studying.
Awesome. Thank you, Martia. Any other announcements? Seeing that, we'll move into Senate snaps. Do I hear any snaps at this time? Yeah, Senator Brown.
Just to the current administration, thanks for everything. I know there's been some ups and downs here and there, but overall, it's been a great serving alongside you. And also to Olivia, yourself, the dinner, once again, incredible. I, for one, always appreciate it, so thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. One snap. Yeah, Senator Silver.
I'd like to give one to Senator Ferguson for being exactly what she wrote on our cards, the best chair.
I would like to give one to Senator Dodona for, I'm sure, doing an excellent job chairing for the moment. So thank you, Ellie, for stepping in. Yeah, Senator Buftis.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to our pro temp Reynolds here. I mean, she's done an amazing job. She's kept us, really active and on top of things, and has really motivated us to have a productive year. So, yeah.
From a cruise ship? When you were on vacation? Oh, yeah. Yeah, Sheeta.
Senate snaps to Senator Dodona and Senator Ferguson because they wrote 64% of the legislation that we saw on the floor this year, so that's huge.
Shout out. That's amazing.
Excluding appointments.
Senator Bowman.
Yeah, snaps to Shannon and Sydney for their awesome work on the parking resolution. I know you guys have been, especially you, have been talking about it all semester. So super proud of you guys for having that come to fruition, and just way to go.
Senator Thomas.
Yeah, I'd like to shout out to President Kang, Vice President Olivia Reynolds or Olivia Warwick, Reynolds and Dodona and a lot of other senators. Like I'm very proud of all the work that you guys are able to do this year and how accessible you guys have been. Even having meetings with Olivia, as soon as I kind of mentioned some things, it's like, oh, let's go have a discussion, or oh yeah, I'm very with this. And I think even for some of the discussions and issues we might have had, I'm very glad that you guys like have been able to put that effort every single week to like constantly try to do things rather than like the opposite. And I know like it's very easy to get burned out at some point in the semester, and you guys have not shown any cracks at that. So that a huge shout out for that. And like I really I feel very motivated from a lot of the people coming here. I've met a lot of good people from Purdue Student Government, and I'm really proud of the year we've had, and I'm really excited for what you guys can do later in life.
Thank you. Ellie, I think I saw you next.
I got a lot. I'm so sorry. I want to give some snaps to everybody within financial affairs. This year, I think that oftentimes there's an expectation of following precedent of being like, well, this is what's happened in the past. And I legitimately appreciate how often they were like, well, that's what I've done in the past, but that's not how it should be. And I think those conversations are so valuable, and I appreciated them constantly having those and constantly wanting to move forward. I want to give snaps to Senator Wiseman. He's done an awesome job as treasurer this year, and I've loved working with him within financial affairs. I also want to give snaps to CSRA. They've been working on this piece of legislation for so long, and they put so much heart and effort into it, and it deserves all the recognition that it gets. It is a fantastic bill. Thank you so much to Vice President Wyrick and President Shannon. I have had a lot of meetings with them, and I loved being able to talk to them and get their ideas and opinions on everything, and I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you, Ellie. Yeah, Senator Brown.
Yeah, quick shout out to Yana for being an incredible chair for UAA through all the meetings and all the discussions with everybody, always being consistent. And also shout out to all the seniors, or I guess snaps to all the seniors. We really appreciate, or at least I really appreciate all your time that you guys have put in. Even though it's your last year, you keep coming, you keep putting forth all the effort. And as an underclassman, I really appreciate all the advice you've given. So thank you all.
Yeah. Senator Price.
Please don't misconstrue my lethargicness for not being compassionate. I'm so tired. But in all sincerity, I want to thank Ashita, Veronica, and Olivia for their patience with me throughout this semester. I had a comically hard semester, especially in February, and they all had a ton of patience with me, and it's the reason I'm still in Senate and still loving it, even though it's my last one. So I just want to say thank you all for being really good role models and sticking with the lack of follow-through that Garrett Price is known for. Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett. Yeah, Senator Ferguson.
I would be remiss not to give IA all the snaps that they deserve this year. You guys have been fantastic. Like, I cannot begin to express how grateful I am for you guys. You're the best proofreaders. You're so involved, like, in everything you do, whether it be IA, whether it be Pride, like other things that you guys are involved in on campus. The legislation you guys write is phenomenal. And I'm so excited for the people who are returning and for those who are leaving. I wish you guys the best of luck, and I'm so excited for you all.
Thank you, Lily. Yeah, Senator Terrell, I think I saw you next.
Yeah, I'd like to give a Senate snap to Julia, because real sad you're not going to be a senator next year, but you've been absolutely phenomenal to work with and really helped me whenever I was just a wee baby senator. So I'm sad you're flying the nest, but I'm excited that we have a new little baby senator in the nest. So now I get to be the mama bird. So shout out to Avery. Can't wait to mama bird you until I fly the nest. So yeah, thanks, Julia.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I have a couple more. So first one, Senate snaps to CSRA. I very much enjoyed being your committee chair, and I'm so thankful that you guys put up with me and all the stuff. Like, I was a new senator and being committee chair, so there's a lot of learning as I go. But so yeah, thanks for that. Snaps to the wonderful Pro Temp Reynolds. I'm gonna miss her so much next year, but she did an amazing job. And then snaps to you and Shannon for just leading such a great year, and I'm thankful to have been able to be a part of PSG in your administration.
Awesome. Thank you. Pro Temp Reynolds.
I gotta. So a shout out to Fire Senate. Shout out to all my friends. That's what I really mean. So it's been a great time with you guys all in caucus every other week, and in our Senate socials. I hope you had fun, and I'm glad to everyone who came out. If you didn't get a sticker, I have some more for you. But overall, thanks for your patience with me, and thanks for always laughing at my not funny jokes in caucus, and and just. We got to know each other pretty well this year, and I'm really happy to call you all my friends. And a special extra shout out to my good friends who are the Senate leader ladies. We had a strong group of committee chairs this year, and some people stepped up. Some people I've been working with for a long time now, so it means a lot to get to work with you in our leadership roles. So good job to you guys, and snaps, and thanks for being good friends.
Thank you, Veronica. And my last snap is also to you all. I think you all have thoroughly you thoroughly left your mark, but it's the end of an era, on the Purdue student body. And I can't thank you enough for your dedication and your follow through and everything you've done. So thank you. Yeah, Senator Merkel.
I want to give snaps to anybody who at all through this entire year has either voted no on a bill or abstained from a bill or asked a single question about a bill. Because that means you were listening, and it means you care about your job, and you're not just like mindlessly, creating unanimous votes for every single bill. So snaps to everybody who listened and cared about their jobs.
Thank you, Senator Merkel. Out of respect for time, let's just do one more.
I'd like to give a snap to my fellow Ag Senator Lily Ferguson. I joined Senate this past semester. I was a SAM last semester, and through this entire academic year, she's been an excellent mentor and friend to me. And I really don't think I would be as engaged and interested I am in PSG and my College of Ag activities if it wasn't for her help and guidance.
Awesome. Thank you, Lily. Alrighty, seeing no more snaps, the chair would recognize a motion to adjourn. Pro Temp Reynolds.
Madam Chair, I move we do now adjourn.
Second.
It has been properly motioned and seconded to adjourn the meeting. It is not amendable, not debatable. It requires a 2/3 vote, sorry. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? In the ears of the chair, the ayes have it. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. With that, I'd like to invite, go ahead and get the next PowerPoint ready to go.
Like a bathroom break for senators, like a walk around the.
Yeah, let's go take a really quick bathroom break. Please, let's be back by 10:15 maximum. I really want to try to get out of here before 11 or 10:45. So let's be really, really quick if we can.
Okay, can everyone hear me down here? Okay. At this time, I'd like to have our VP and President-elects come on down to the front. Okay, I just want to say this is like the most exciting induction I think I'm ever going to do. Okay, well, welcome back, Izzy. Just repeat after me, okay? All right, I, and state your name. I, Izzy Weber. On this 20th day of April, 2022. Do solemnly swear. That I will faithfully execute. The office of Purdue Student Body Vice President. And will do the best of my ability. Abide by and uphold. The bylaws and the Constitution of the Purdue Student Government. I will conduct all executive business with the best interest of Purdue University as my main objective. Congratulations. All right. Hello, Andrew. Okay, one more. All right. I, then state your name.
I, Andrew Jensen,
On this 20th day of April, 2022,
on this 20th day of April, 2022,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of Purdue Student Body President
the office of Purdue Student Body President
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
abide by and uphold
abide by and uphold
the bylaws and the Constitution
the bylaws and the Constitution
of the Purdue Student Government.
of the Purdue Student Government.
I will conduct
I will conduct
all executive business
all executive business
with the best interest of Purdue University
with the best interest of Purdue University
as my main objective.
as my main objective.
Congratulations. Okay. Senators, come on down. I thought it was just the new ones. I mean, I better be safe than sorry. Just stay up here. All right, everyone. Yep, just you guys don't have to go one at a time. Just all go at the same time, okay? All right. I, then state your name. On this 20th day of April, 2022. Swear to abide by and uphold the Constitution and the bylaws of the Purdue Student Government. I swear to conduct all legislative business with the utmost integrity and with the best interest of Purdue University and its student body as my main objectives. Congratulations.
Hello and welcome all. At 10:19 p.m., I will now call this meeting to order. If you are a visitor, please state your name and reason for being here.
Jerry Ann Jensen to celebrate the new you and Andrew's inaugurations.
Silas Jensen, I'm his older brother.
Todd Jensen here to celebrate Izzy and Andrew.
Castu Bray, I was their campaign manager, just celebrating Izzy and Andrew.
Molly Grosjean, also another campaign manager, and here to celebrate and support Izzy and Andrew. Allison Avery, Izzy's mom, excited to be here to support Izzy and Andrew.
Ann Miller, I'm a friend of the Jensens.
I'm Megan Miller.
And I'm Will, and I'm here to support Andrew.
Irene Scudder, Senate Associate Member for the College of Education.
Debbie Sheriff supporting Izzy and Andrew.
Adie here, a loyal supporter of Izzy and Andrew.
Mohammed Buftis, former senator, just here to, watch and observe and have fun here. Watch the new administration take on.
Cameron Bridges, former senator, just here to root for all of you guys.
Isabel Diaz, former senator, just here to live life.
Okay, we will now begin with proxy reports. If you are a proxy, please state your name and the senator who you are proxying for at this time? Okay. Hearing no more proxies, we will move into roll call by President Jensen.
Senator Ferguson,
Here.
Senator Mariani,
Here.
Senator Hampton,
Here.
Senator DeLucia Green,
Here.
Senator Terrell,
Here.
Senator Mann,
Here.
Senator Bowman,
Here.
Senator de Guzman,
Here.
Senator Ackerman,
Here.
Senator De Silva,
Here.
Senator Brown,
Here.
Senator Botany,
Here. Botini.
Botini, I got you. Senator Dodona,
Here.
Senator Wheeler,
Here.
and Senator Amos.
Here.
Perfect. We will now move into the land acknowledgement. Purdue student government acknowledges the traditional homelands of the indigenous people, which Purdue University is built upon. We honor and appreciate the Potawatomi, Delaware, Miami, and Shawnee people, who are the original indigenous caretakers. Okay. Now we will move into the Pledge of Purpose. Senators, please rise for the Pledge of Purpose. Our purpose is to be the voice of the Purdue student body, serve the needs of students in all university matters, provide leadership that stimulates initiative, inspires excellence, and exemplifies professionalism, and above all, hail Purdue. Perfect. Okay. So, executive reports. President Jensen, do you have any executive reports at this time?
I do. I'm going to keep it short since we're all here at 10:23 p.m. I just want to say Izzy and I are really excited to start this year. I'm excited to work along with you guys, with you senators, and also want to say that so far from our meetings with administrators, our initiatives have been welcomed with a lot of warmth, and they'll be starting this summer.
Yes, I would also like to say ditto. So, see that we have no other executives or committees at this time, we will move into informal discussion. We will attempt to elect the President Pro Tempore today during informal discussion. Before we begin, I would like to remind senators of the duties and role of the Pro Temp, setting the legislative agenda for Senate meetings and sending out an email to all senators before each meeting with the docket of legislation, assigning legislation to appropriate committees, creating the PowerPoint for each Senate session, serving as a member of cabinet and attending these weekly meetings, keeping track of Senate duties such as office hours, outreach events, constitute letters, and holding senators accountable if they do not fulfill these duties, hosting caucus before each Senate meetings, ensuring senators understand their roles, and answering any questions they may have. So, we will now begin the election of the new President Pro Tempore, acting under Article 7 of the Standing Rules of the Senate. I'm going to suspend the standing rules for the Pro Temp elections. The election rules are as follows. First, I will take nominations for the position. Remember that nominations must be seconded. In the case that we have more than one nomination, we will have all nominees wait in the hallway and call each in to give a maximum 3-minute speech, followed by 5 minutes of questions to the nominee by Senate. Senators will give their speeches in the order in which they are nominated. If a senator feels this time should be extended, the chair will recognize a motion to extend the time. After all speeches are given, all nominees will wait in the hallway, and there will be a vote by roll. In the case that we only have one nomination, the same process will proceed, and we will vote by voice acclamation. At this time, do I hear any nominees for President Pro Tempore? Senator Bowman.
I nominate Senator Eleanor Dodona for the position of Pro Temp.
Okay. It has been properly moved and seconded to nominate Senator Dodona. Do I hear any other nominations?
I nominate Senator Lillian Ferguson for the position of Pro Temp.
Second.
Okay. I will allow Senator Dodona to give their speech at this time. Oh, so sorry.
Madam Chair, I move that the nominations of Senator Dodona and Senator Ferguson be considered together as a co-nomination for consideration of a co-president pro tempore position.
Second.
Okay. It has been properly moved and seconded that the nominations of Senator Dodona and Senator Ferguson be considered together as a co-nomination. This is amendable, debatable, and requires a majority vote. Is there any discussion? Senator Bowman.
Point of order, I believe the person who made the motion gets to speak first on it.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Parley Prose, not easy at the beginning. So something that I want us to note before moving forward and for our reasons for supporting this motion would be considered on a year-to-year basis based on Senate determination. It would not have to be an every year thing, and it could take into account the size, experience level, and candidate compatibility. Since considering this and looking into the governing documents, meeting with our advisor, we understand that this could be seen as a gray area, but we unilaterally agreed that it should come down to a decision made by senators, and this is why we've decided to make this motion today to be voted on before the official election process begins. Candidly, Ellie and I are friends, and we would love the opportunity to do this position together. I would be lying if I said our friendship had no impact on wanting to explore a co-president pro tempore role. Despite this initial motivation, we believe that after discussing and exploring this possibility, this move could have substantial positive impacts for the Senate as well as our constituents. I hope that those who know us understand that we would never advocate for something that we think would be a violation of our governing documents or harmful for the Senate as a whole. Okay, so here are some reasons. I'll go through them quickly because long day. Some reasons we think that you should consider a co-president pro tempore role. This would allow for a more thorough fulfillment of the role. With a desire to ensure both the administrative and the social tasks of president pro tempore role, we believe that it is more time commitment that can be given by one person. In our combined time on the Senate, we've experienced what has been like under 4 president pro temps, and at no fault of their own, we feel that generally one side of this has been neglected. The role has a lot of different facets, and to fulfill all parts, we believe that it would be better just with 2 people. This precedent has been seen in co-EDs, Deputy Chief of Staff, and Deputy Treasurer. We feel as though this role could best be done by equally splitting constitutional obligations. This division will permit for different avenues to be explored. This could look like more frequent Senate socials, more frequent communications with standing committees, such as cabinet updates during your committee meetings, further connection with ad hoc committees and supporting CSRA in the purview process, more active efforts to fill Senate seats, more active efforts in creating a community with SAMs, Senate associate members, a better relationship with PGSG and other communities participating in joint resolutions, a more thorough fulfillment of senator roles. As you heard from Senator Carana earlier today, Ellie and I write a lot of legislation. We wrote 64% of the legislation that wasn't appointment bills last year, and we don't want to stop writing legislation just to do administrative tasks and support senators, and we think that it would be a disservice to our constituents if we stopped writing the amount of legislation that we do, the amount of good legislation that we do. Additionally, we feel as though this move would unilaterally improve Senate regardless of who holds this position. And yeah, any other concerns can be addressed now.
Would anybody like to yield their time to former Vice President Wyrick? Yep.
I yield 2 minutes of my time to former Vice President Wyrick.
Thank you, Senator Bowman. I first want to just express that I think both Senator Dodona and Senator Ferguson are more than capable of fulfilling the duties and the responsibilities of the President pro tempore. And I think maybe Dr. King can speak on this a little bit. While this doesn't violate directly anything in the governing docs, I think if this is something that we really wanted to make happen, it should have been considered in some kind of amendment. I'm thinking specifically with the stipend allocation for President pro tempore, it can only go to one person. It cannot be split between 2 people. It cannot go to 2 people. That comes from the Vice Provost's office. That does not come from us. That does not come from Bozo. So I would hate for both of you to get elected in this co-role and one of you only be, receive any kind of compensation for your time. And secondly, I don't believe that this is a position that requires I think it's just not an avenue I would really like to see this body take. And I just really would encourage all senators to vote no on this motion.
Senator Dodona.
I really appreciate former Vice President Wyrick bringing up this concern. I'd like to directly disagree with the conversation about the constitutionality of this. I think we agree that there can be an interpretation for an executive director, which is blatantly stated in our governing documents, and we interpret that as being co. I think at the end of the day, that this role holds a lot of different obligations, and I'm someone who's experienced 4 different pro temps, and it often results in them being overburdened and not being able to write the legislation that they want to write. And I think that overall, having 2 people would help alleviate that. I understand the stipend conversation. Neither Senator Ferguson and I are wanting this position because of the payment. I have no problem surrendering my stipend if she would say the same thing. Like, the reason for this is not monetarily gained, and I'd like to end this by yielding 2 minutes of my time to former pro temp Reynolds.
No, thank you. Okay, so I came prepared today to talk about how literally just now leaving the role, I do think that I could have I did receive help from former Vice President Wyrick, and actually I did ask these 2 particular senators for a lot of help, just with advice, just with handling things, just with helping planning Senate socials, things like that. So I just really wanted to come over today and talk about the amount of work that it does take to run caucus, to get there was 92 pieces of legislation. I received every single one of them and had to delegate them to different committees and had to get them back from the committees and then write the agenda. And I did get help on some of my duties, of course, through the committee chairs and vice president, but I do think that with an ambitious Senate coming in, that I do believe this group is, and I know there are more people that are going to join because there's a lot of colleges doing appointments right now. I think that it would be beneficial to have 2, and I really hope that the Senate listens to former person who's in the role, because I just got a lot of help informally, but I think a formal partner would be beneficial, and I could have used it for sure. And also I really like how they're talking about the administrative side versus your actual role as a senator. So when you are a pro temp, you're not a committee chair, and you're not in a committee, but you have to host Senate leader meetings, and you also have to still get your Senate duties done and still do what every other senator does. And I think that I literally do have projects that I started and just couldn't finish because a lot of administrative stuff got in the way. So this will also help, and not saying that this has to happen every year, but this will help make sure that duty of being a senator and being in the executive cabinet can stay together. And lastly, I really do think that these 2 individuals are qualified and deserve this role. They both have proven in their different acts throughout the years and with this little speech that they prepared, they looked into if this is possible, and they have checked with the proper people to see if this could happen, and they have support. So I think that these 2 people are very qualified, and they do deserve this role, and they deserve just a chance. And that is, I think that is what I want to use my 2 minutes to say.
Okay. Would anybody like to allocate time to Dr. Martia King?
I will always allocate 2 minutes of my time to Dr. Martia King.
I appreciate that. So I will say I have been very honest with multiple individuals regarding this sentiment. If we want to go historically, you can call former President Asada, and she will also hear my thoughts on any co or joint groups. I have been a strong non-advocate for sharing any positions. I think it is extremely difficult to do so communication-wise, and the university does not recognize. There are lots of student organizations on this college campus that say they are co-presidents. We only recognize one. We will only recognize one executive officer officially. I think there are multiple ways to have a team and a B team to share some duties. I do not agree with any co-positions other than one, and I have been strongly advocate of this, and it is only to the treasurer. And so I have said that to multiple people, because the current PSG treasurer's time for me to go to bed, y'all. Treasurer oversees a whole different organization in addition to all their duties. So although I greatly think that both individuals are highly qualified for the job, I really want you to look at processes. Again, there cannot be payments. There's only one person that's going to be officially recognized, and splitting up the job duties, is there something that that allows that to happen? But I will say, I am against, I love my co-deputy over there. I love all the people, but I'm strongly against any co-positions as the director of SAO.
Yes.
Would you two be able to, at all, hearing the sentiment from people that are maybe more understanding of like the representation of there needs to be one, would there be any chance one of you would be able to step up as like the pro tempore and the other one be like the secondary pro tempore, but like the one is the actual one? Does that make sense? I don't know what sentiments you have.
Yes, Senator Ferguson.
I'll be honest, you guys. I don't care who SAO recognizes. This conversation, I think, is more surrounding on does the Senate and do we as a body think that this could be beneficial for this role? And I firmly believe yes. And Ellie, if SAO wants to recognize Ellie as the pro temp, perfect. If SAO wants to recognize me as the pro temp, perfectly fine.
Senator Dona.
Yeah, so just to sort of answer Senator Brown's question more directly, I think I have a couple things I just want to note generally. We looked into the conversation about a deputy. I mean, I've created a deputy treasurer position within PSG. Our conversation centered around the fact that sort of fundamentally disagreeing with deputy positions because the fact that they rely on another person to delegate all their roles to. So they're in essence like tethered to the obligation of a main person, and then if things fall through the crack, it's still the person who has the role's fault for it. And so our opinion was having a co-position would allow for equal sharing of the responsibilities. Candidly, Lily and I have already talked about what would happen if we were to be pro temps, of exactly where the line would be split, like who would do this, who would handle that, who would go to what committee meetings. And so I think we've already sort of solved that issue. Fundamentally, Lily and I already had a conversation with our delightful advisor about this conversation, and I think that while I absolutely respect her opinion on co and deputy things, we've already sort of made that move within our administration to value, within PSG, to value the fact that two people could hold this role. They could still be students, they could still be senators and hold all legislative issues. They could allow for more effective things. We talked about, like, within the speech, the conversation around, like, being able to go to committee meetings and having a pro temp go to one of those every week so they know what's happening. That's something that just isn't feasible with one person doing it. And so while I really respect the differencing of opinions, I think at the end of the day, our sentiment is that two people would be better for Senate, period. And how that sort of operates, like, if SAO really needs to recognize somebody, if the stipends have to get slashed, that's a conversation. I also think it'd be irresponsible for us to write this into our governing documents without ever having done anything regarding it. So if we were to just be like, well, we want co, let's add it in, and have never had any experience with having two people have a conversation on the role, that would be irresponsible for us as senators. So that sort of summarizes your question, Michael, as well as my sentiments on other opinions.
Great. Sorry, I don't know your name.
All right. So I would, I guess, like to share my sentiment of support for this decision. I would also like to respectfully disagree with former Vice President Wyrick, because you stated that you didn't think that this role had enough duties to be split into co-chairs. But honestly, how did we make that decision for all of the chairs in BOD that got split into having two heads instead of one? I think it's fair to say if a BOD committee can have two leaders, then someone that helps lead the Senate, that role would also be responsible, or at least it would make sense to me to at least consider the option of two roles, because I've never been a director of a BOD committee, but I would like to think that some of the weekly responsibilities might be a little bit different for the pro temp versus someone on the BOD side of it. So that's just a comparison that I would like to draw, that if we've done it for one organization in PSG, I personally don't think that we should automatically shut it down for a different organization that wants to utilize having two people in one position. Additionally, whenever the first discussion got brought up that both of these ladies were wanting to run, that was like the first question that I heard everyone ask is like, well, how are you going to decide who to run for or who to vote for? Because in my personal opinion, they're both equally qualified. I don't know anyone besides those two that I would turn to specifically ask a question about, and I was literally NIA, so like I should know what's in the Constitution, but I still be asking Lily everything, or Ellie everything, or both of them in a Slack message. So I feel like turning this down initially might cause a bigger issue in the future, because if we're having to have the discussion of who out of these two extremely qualified candidates are slightly more qualified, then why not just have both of the candidates and both of the experience instead of trying to divide that line?
Okay. Would anybody like to allocate time to former Chief Justice Furstenberger? For current, so sorry.
Point of order, former, new administration. Secondly, you can have 2 minutes of my time.
Okay. Yeah, the next Chief Justice has not been decided yet, so that's why I'm under the assumption that maybe I am still Chief Justice. Yeah. So I'm literally looking at the Constitution right now. Given the nature of the pro tempore position being a cabinet position, one that historically receives a stipend, I'm very, very hesitant to go all in on endorsing the idea of this being a co-held position. I would much rather see I'm not at all trying to discourage the amazing work that Ellie and Lily have done this year in their roles. I think they're extremely qualified to hold a pro tempore position. But I'd much rather see the route that we took when we created the Deputy Chief of Staff position this past year. Why not create a deputy position? And then if we feel that the work that they have done as deputy and current pro tempore positions have done, if they are both worthy of receiving a financial compensation for that, why not write that into the stipend bills that the two of them can collectively be rewarded simultaneously for that as both deputy and primary pro tempore? That's just an idea that I have regarding this situation.
Senator Bowman.
Yeah, I'll be real quick. So I just want to say that I guess as not really an older senator, but as someone that came in at the very beginning of the semester, I would just like to say that the tremendous experience and leadership of both Ellie and Lily is incredible. I would definitely say that out of everyone here right now as a senator, they are both probably the most experienced and qualified. And like they've said, they've written over 60% of the legislature. And I am good friends with all of them. And I was also I'm good friends with Veronica. And I know that just a common sentiment with the pro temp is that, there is a lot of obviously responsibilities and duties that do take away from writing legislature and being more involved with that aspect of the Senate. And I think it would definitely be a disservice to the Senate to take away either, Lily or Ellie's contributions because, one of them was too busy with said duties to be able to, work on the legislation that she wanted to pursue. And so just really for that reason, and I know that the two of them work very well together. They've, worked together well in the past. And I think as they've also stated that the monetary stipend or the formal recognition by SAO is not really a concern, and that, they would easily be able to, between them, agree on this person will be, recognized. But I think that what Senator Ferguson said, that right now here as a Senate, that we are voting as a Senate to co-recognize them. I personally am highly in support of that, just because of their huge contributions in the past to Senate through legislature, and it would be really a shame to lose kind of one of our two main powerhouses for legislative writing because she was too busy to take on any of that duty. So that's just my thoughts on it.
Would anybody like to yield their time to former Vice President Wyrick?
Yield time to pro temp, there's former Senator Corona and pro temp Reynolds. I just think, can I do that? It's fine. And then I'll give a minute of my time to former Vice President Wyrick. I'll divide it all up.
I'll be quick, but I was a new senator this last year, and I was also the leader of CSRA, so a committee. So I was a committee chair, and balancing both of those, I looked up to Veronica to answer a lot of my questions, and she was doing a lot of amazing work on her own, but there was a lot on her plate, and I think had there been, if there is a co-chair or a co-president pro temp, I think with the amount of incoming new senators we have and new committee chairs, I think it will be extremely helpful, because it will help the pro temps do their own work as a senator and follow their own passion projects for writing legislation, but also overlooking and making sure the committee chairs are able to do their work, and committee chairs directly deal with senators, so kind of just breaking down that who overlooks who. But I think I'm in strong support of this position because I think it will be really helpful to run a successful Senate and for the new administration to have a successful Senate. I really quickly just wanted to add that I do not think that this proposal should be compared to the staff role because, first of all, that role does not get a stipend. So if that's something that, if we're going to dive deeper into stipends, I think that's something that everyone can talk about because that can be argued that can be compared to what we could figure out to do with this. And also that this is an election and that is an appointed position. So I just want people to keep that in mind. You just said the rest.
Yeah, last thing really quick. Not my monkeys, not my circus. So if you guys really want to do this, go crazy. Have a great time. But I just really want to highlight the fact that although this is not explicitly not allowed in the Constitution, it is not supported within any language in the Constitution. So if it passes, I strongly encourage you all to update it. Even if you don't want to do this next year, even if we don't do President pro tempores moving forward, the section of all of our governing docs that explicitly address the President pro tempore identify one, or lean to one singular person. It doesn't ever insinuate a plurality of people. And I think if this is something you really want to do, then your next step is to change the governing documents to outline specific responsibilities for each president pro tempore moving forward, just to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks of the duties that Vice President Weber just highlighted.
Sorry. First, I would like to offer my support of this decision. I think both of these ladies are so well qualified for this position. Secondly, I'd like to sort of a point of order. With co-executive directors, I believe we have, in some point within Purdue student government, have set a precedent that we can create co-positions, and I believe the language within the Constitution is the same. And I don't believe the Constitution was at all altered within that language. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But with that in mind, I do see the need for a constitutional amendment, but as a governing body of senators, I believe that is fully within our power to try to make that happen. And I believe that as so many of us firmly believe in this, we could make this happen. And as I said earlier, I do think our logic is becoming circular. And in respect of everyone's time at 10:48 at night, hopefully we can reach a decision soon. Would anybody like to yield their time to Vince?
I'll yield 2 minutes of my time to Vince.
Thank you. I feel like the conversation is divulging into like everything or nothing, and I don't think that has to be the case. I had the conversation with Lily and Ellie the other day, so I don't want them to feel like I'm blindsiding them. But my recommendation was, if they're going to go this route, here was my advice on how to go that route. But I still believe the best possible case situation is somebody takes fall, somebody takes spring. You can resign as the pro temp, you can stay a senator, you can do those things, and I think it helps avoid a constitutional debate on language, whether or not it's one or two. And it doesn't sit, like, when you try to become elected, it's a gamble. Like, you might win, you might not. Like, that's part of it. These situations, not everybody's gonna get the promotion at work, like when you're older either. You're probably gonna be friends with your coworkers. And it just doesn't sit right to me that like a personal friendship is being leveraged to try and attain the same role simply because it didn't work out in the election. If these individuals would have won, this conversation would have not occurred. And I believe that both can contribute in a huge and strong manner, but it's kind of turning into a point where now you're going to start off an administration with potentially a cabinet that doesn't agree, and you're butting heads before the game's even started, and that's just not the point of this organization.
Hi, so I'm a new senator here, and I'm not going to pretend to understand how everything is supposed to run. However, I defer to the judgment of other senators that have come before me with more experience. And from what I'm hearing, the majority of senators think that this is a good idea. And a constitution is meant to be a living document, supposed to evolve for to face the problems and the challenges that it's supposed to face. And it sounds like we're entering the new year with a lot of new senators. And I think that to have more experience in a role that is already sounds like it's a heavy responsibility, I think it makes much more sense to have maximize the amount of experience that we have in that role. And if the time calls for it, I think we should all support it, and we should defer to the judgment of people who have been here longer than us.
Yeah, okay, so I've got to answer a few different concerns right now. First, I want to talk about our Constitution, and as IA chair and as someone who has lived, breathed our governing documents for the past year, I would like to say that, especially when it comes to co-EDs, which I think is the best parallel for what we want to do here, the language was originally singular, and then after it occurred, after everything yeah, okay, yep, it's still singular. It is still singular, and not until last semester did we change it when a whole year of co-EDs did exist. And so I think that that is a prominent argument. Additionally, I've lost my train of thought. Additionally, I want to talk on the merits of co specifically in this case, and why I believe that no matter what has occurred, or like why the personal element of this, it could still be and is still a obligation that takes up a lot of time for a senator, as both having to be an administrator and a senator at the same time. Additionally, it's something that could not look like this for the future. It would be voted on every year, but if in the future the Senate wanted to do a more experienced senator and a less experienced senator, that would be an option. There would be many ways for this position with two people could evolve into something so, so positive for the Senate.
Yeah, just one last thing, and I definitely also want to address a point that was brought up about, the idea that, one of them could be in the fall and the spring, and I think that while that is, a good idea, I think it doesn't directly address why we are attempting to create a co-position. Honestly, like I said earlier, the biggest just kind of motivator for them doing this as a co-position was so that they could both continue to devote their time to writing legislature in the Senate as well, so that they were not overwhelmed with the duties of the pro temp position, because like Veronica said, there are a lot. So, yes, like having them switch out would solve they both get to do it, but that doesn't really solve the one of them is still going to have to take all of those and assume all of those responsibilities. So, each semester we're going to be down one of the most experienced senators. And just like I said earlier, I'm not the oldest senator. I'm certainly not an old senator. I'm a new senator in kind of regards to some other people here. But I will just say that, especially listening to other senators who are more experienced than me, and deferring really to Ellie and Lily's judgment, I would really encourage all the young new senators to really think about, what have the people before you said and what have the people that have come before you recommended, and really just think about that, because those obviously in current Senate positions have been through this rodeo. We've been living it for how long we've been in Senate. And I personally truly believe that after a semester in PSG, watching both Lily and Ellie, that it would be a much greater service to PSG and Purdue as a whole for them to this position, so that they could continue to write legislature, which is, we've seen, something that they're incredibly passionate about.
I would like to allot 2 minutes to former Senator Silver, and then Ellie, if she's still got something to say. But then I'd like to motion to move to vote on this, because Jesus Christ, it's 11 o'clock.
Yeah, I just wanted to address something that Vince said. He's not here anymore, but he said one thing he said was that he doesn't want your vote to be influenced because Lily and Ellie are friends. I think that is a good point, and they brought this up at the very beginning of their statement, that they are friends and that this decision was, of course, it had to be influenced by the fact that they are friends. However, that does not change how you all are voting. This is not Ellie and Lily doing it. This is a vote for the senators. All of the Senate is making this decision, not just Ellie and Lily. So the friends thing, yes, it is an influence on why they brought this motion here. However, the result is because of the senators here, not just because of those two. Another thing that Vince said was that he doesn't want there to be bad blood in the administration right as it starts. Well, I think that is a bad sentiment for a Senate and government position. The whole point of government is for there to be discourse and discussion, and having bad blood would encourage that discussion. And I don't think that having this vote occur and not be something that the administration would, the other students in the administration would want, I don't think that should discourage anyone from allowing this, because that would make it more discourse in the administration. It allows for more discussion to be open.
Senator Dodona.
Sorry for this last remark, and then I'm good for the vote. I guess in having these conversations with our advisor and between us, and just my opinion on this position, after experiencing so many people holding it, at the end of the day, it comes down to a vote of the Senate. Like, this is the person that's supposed to represent you all. This is the person that's supposed to help you all. This is the person that's supposed to support you in all your endeavors within PSG, help you find the avenues that need to exist. And at the end of the day, that all comes down to your opinion on this, and considering the implications of like what all former senators have said as well. In my opinion, last statement is the fact that two people mean a better functioning Senate, and at the end of the day, that is everything everyone in this room wants. And so that is my final note of why I think this needs to go.
Will anybody yield their time to Dr. Martia King?
I will yield 2 minutes of my time to Dr. King.
I know. This is my last statement. I promise. And I'm about to go. If this transpires, then something about holding people accountable needs to be roped up into that position. Specifically, all branches.
Madam Chair, I do move that we vote on this amendment. I think we've all discussed and have probably made up our minds at this point.
Point of order. Are you calling for, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll do it. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, we will now proceed to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your name placards. Okay. All those opposed? And any abstentions? Okay. With a vote 11-1-3, the motion passes. Okay. The nominations of Senator Dodona and Senator Ferguson will now be considered as one co-nomination. Are there any more nominations before we proceed to speeches and voting? Fantastic. Okay. Okay. Yes. You could probably motion to like yield your time back to me, and then.
Can I motion for neither one of the, or can they give like a 3-minute speech together?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, but they could also just yield it back to me. They could just say, yield it back. Okay.
Lily and I are going to take our speech right now. It was a great speech, and it was 10 out of 10.
Great.
We'll email it to y'all if you want.
Do we have any questions for the nominees at this time? Okay, seeing none, we will move to the, nope. Seeing no further questions at this time, we will now move into a vote by roll call.
Point of order, we got to go.
Oh, yep. Okay. Okay, let's do that. Okay. All those in favor for the co-nominations of Senator Dodona and Senator Ferguson, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Great. Okay, with a vote of 15-0-0, I now name Senator Dodona and Ferguson as the new president pro tempores of the Senate. But I need them back in, I guess. Congratulations. Now we will move into old business. At this time, I will move into old business. Do I hear any old business? Yep, seeing none, we will move into new business. Do I hear any new business? Yes.
I motion to table resolution 2201. Because that's what he told me to do. What do you mean why? You just need a second. It's 11 o'clock. You can get good.
Okay, do I hear a second? Second? Yes.
I'm going to change that. I want to table discussion.
Great. Great, 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 great. Okay. Do I have a motion to discuss? Like, does somebody have to bring it up? Yes.
I don't know what the number is. I move to bring up, oh wait, yeah, 2201.
Yep.
I move previous question, which ends discussion. It's a 2/3 vote, so we just have to vote on this motion, and then we vote on the resolution.
Okay. Oh my God. You know what? You guys know what it looks like, right? Okay, great. So the motion is to. Great. Anybody, everyone in favor, raise the cards. That's 2/3. Great. So no other discussion. We will move to vote. Okay, all those in favor, raise your placards. Any of those opposed? Any abstentions? All right, it passes. Okay. Do I hear any announcements at this time? Great, we will now move into Senate Snaps for new senators. Senate Snaps is a way to recognize the hard work of others within PSG. Anyone? No. Great. Everyone gets snaps. Yes. Okay, adjournment. Seeing no further announcements of snaps, the chair would recognize a motion to adjourn. Yes.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Perfect. It's been properly motioned and seconded to adjourn the meeting. It's not amendable. It is not debatable. It requires a 2/3 vote. Yep. All in favor? Yep. Aye. Meeting is now adjourned. Thanks, everyone.